Hello, and welcome to the inaugural Forbes Creator Upfronts in partnership with Walmart Creator. We look forward to spending today and tomorrow with you for a groundbreaking program connecting today's most innovative creators with the biggest brands in the world. Before we begin, a special thank you to our title partner, Walmart Creator, and our supporting partners, TikTok and Whaler Group. Now, to kick off the program, please welcome Stephen Bertoni, Assistant Managing Editor, Founders, Forbes.
Nice. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Steve Bertoni. I'm an editor at Forbes, and I'm so thrilled to welcome everyone to the first ever Forbes Creator Upfronts in partnership with Walmart. So thank you for being here. This is huge. Now, this is also a big day for Forbes. This morning, we launched our top creator list honoring the 50 richest and most powerful creators in the world. And this is the last time I'm ever going to launch a list and do an event in the same day. But it was well worth it. I feel the energy. We're super excited because those 50 people have earned more than $750 million this year, and they have a combined follower count of 2.7 billion. That's insane. And many of them will be speaking here in the next 2 days. So I'm super thrilled. And those numbers are only going to get better. Goldman Sachs, none other than Goldman Sachs, estimates the creator economy to be $250 billion. And in 2 years, that number is going to grow to $500 billion. So that number is going to get bigger and bigger. And where is that money going to come from? Brand partnerships. They think 70% of that revenue is coming from brand partnerships. Now, that's a huge amount of money and power, and where that money and power goes, everyone in this room are going to play a big decision, because we have an incredible group of creators and top brand people all together today. Wait, show of hands, how many creators do we have in the room? All right. How many brand and marketing folks do we have in the room? Look around, everyone know each other. Who's looking to earn money on brand deals today? All right, love it. And who's looking to spend money on brand deals today? Look at those hands. Just a personal note, and people looking to spend money, I have more than 800 Instagram followers. So anyone in the market for a journalism creator, we'll talk at the bar after the show. But an incredible, incredible day. And what we're going to hear, we're going to have amazing panels from our top creators. And then what we're really excited about is blocks of these upfronts. We're going to have groups of creators come up, show you what they do, movie trailers, sizzle reels. Then they get in the hot seat for 5 minutes and get interviewed by a Forbes reporter. And the whole goal is to introduce this great, diverse, talented group to the group here. So we're super excited for the next 2 days. First time we ever did it, we can't wait. So I want to kick this off right now. So let's get the party started. Let's get our first panel out. And again, thank you for joining us today.
And now, joining Steve for our first conversation, the new age of creator-led brands. Please welcome to the stage, Danny Austin, Internet personality and founder, Divi, and My Win, creator and author.
Hugs it out. Hey, Ma. Thanks for joining us. Danny, Mai, thanks. And by the way, these are 2 top creator honorees. Big day, so congratulations. Welcome. What a great way to celebrate.
Thank you. Very
We're so
surreal to be
excited.
here.
We're
Thank
psyched
you
to
for
have you.
having us for the first inaugural Creators Upfront.
This is the first panel ever on the first upfront. You guys are kicking, you're pioneers.
I love that you chose ladies for
We got
the first.
girl power, yes.
Girl power.
Honestly, did I have a choice? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
This is a very woman-forward event, and I couldn't be more excited. You guys are both Forbes top creators. You have millions of followers. You earn millions of dollars. But my first question before we get into this is, give me a short, Twitter-length description of what you were doing before you became full-time creators. Danny, you're further away, so I'll let you go first.
So I was 19 years old. I was a student at the University of Texas. I was studying to become a physical therapist, to apply to PT school. And I did nothing with that, to be honest. So now we're here. But yeah, then
If
I
anyone
started.
gets hurt, you're here to help today.
Not really. I mean, I could use some ChatGPT. Yeah, that's what I do these days. But so yes, I was a student.
Very cool. Ma, you have a different story?
Wow. Well, my husband and I just lost our jobs. I got pregnant with twins, moved in with my parents, and I kind of just had to start from scratch all over again. Sold all the girls' baby clothes when they were 3 at a garage sale, bought an iPhone, downloaded Angry Birds and Instagram. That's how long I've been in the industry.
Okay, very cool.
The word influencer, I don't even think existed when I first started.
I love how you sold baby clothes at a yard sale that got you buy your first iPhone.
Yeah, we were broke.
And here you are.
Yeah,
We
here
both
I am,
started
Forbes.
in 2012.
Yeah, we're like OGs.
We're like-
that's why we're here.
We're like old farts. That's what I always say.
I do feel old. Yeah.
And you go from those humble beginnings. And tell me about each of you. Tell me about what your brands are and what was the secret to build those brands to what they are today.
Have you go first.
Yeah, so I first started on YouTube, and I started with a series called Things I Wish a Sister Taught Me, or My Sister Taught Me, because I didn't have a sister growing up. And so since I was 19, my demo was a lot younger. But I hid the fact that I was making videos from all my girlfriends, in my dorm room, and all my friends, because it was just, like she said, the term influencer wasn't around.
Yeah, they're like, what do you do?
Yeah.
Everything.
No, and there were no other girls creating in Texas. But I kind of found this little niche of LA, makeup. They called them beauty gurus back in the day.
Yeah.
And so I would fly out to LA every summer and collaborate. And then YouTube Space became a thing. They had a YouTube Space, and I learned how to edit and film. And then, for the past 10, 12 years, it just kind of evolved with my audience. I was telling Steve earlier, it's crazy whenever I meet people, and they're like, oh, I followed you since, before you met your husband. When you were dating this other guy. It's so crazy. And so it's really fun to, evolve and grow with your audience and just kind of share whatever's going on in life. So now we focus mainly on, lifestyle and mommy content and that sort of thing.
I definitely agree with the evolution because it's been 12, 13 years, and who I started as a creator in the beginning was it was just Instagram, it was just photos. So it's really actually nice to see the evolution of not just me, but social media in general, and how much opportunity there is now. Because I feel like we kind of paved the way, because there was no brand deals. There was
no opportunity.
There was no opportunities. I started and I just wanted to write an ebook. I was like, okay, that's my only plan, was to write an ebook, sell it, and
What would you write the ebook about?
it was called My Daily Diet. Please don't look it up. It's so embarrassing. I'm trying to wipe it off the internet. But I'm literally in a black cocktail dress selling a cookbook.
Okay.
So it makes absolutely no sense. People did buy it, and I was able to move out of my parents' home.
From an ebook, that's pretty good.
From an ebook. But
Yeah.
the landscape was so much easier back then because no one else was doing it. So being the first to sell something online, like an ebook for $40 was insane back then, but it was really what started my career into the influencer marketing economy space.
That's pretty gutsy, by the way, charging $40 for an ebook.
Yeah, people didn't like it.
Yeah.
My plan was, with diet books and cookbooks, there's a lot of questions and customer service.
Okay.
So if I just increase the price and I have one person buy it for 40 instead of 4 people buy it for 10, then the customer service would be less time consuming.
You went luxury style. I like
Yeah,
that.
even
That
with a
is good.
terrible book and they did not get the value.
Yeah. So you slowly built up these really big social media footprints and following.
Yeah.
How did you then turn that following into your own brands? Because you do have your own distinct brands with different sorts of products. And when I say brand, you both have physical products. Ma, you have a new best-selling book, by the way.
Yes.
And Danny has amazing hair care company. But before you build that, you have to build your own personal brand. Tell me how you turned followers and fans into brands.
Sure. So I had always shared kind of the ups and downs with my audience. I was always very vulnerable about, whether it was postpartum depression or anything I was going through that was more of a struggle. I wasn't scared to share it because I always felt like that's whenever I really connect with people, whenever I'm able to wear these wounds publicly, use them in a creative way to help other people. And so in 2019, I started struggling with hair loss. And there weren't a lot of females online sharing hair loss. I was really embarrassed about it. It had happened for so many different reasons: stress, and then traction alopecia from hair extensions trying to cover it up, and dyeing it to make it look thicker, but then I just lost more. Got to a point where I looked at my husband and I was like, I don't even want to leave the house. Like, I don't even feel feminine anymore. I don't feel good anymore. So my husband was like, why don't you just get a wig? Like, the Kardashians wear wigs. Let's find you a wig. So I transitioned into wigs, and it's actually funny. Like, the first month that I wore my wig, we named her Kim. I didn't tell anybody.
You named her Kim?
I named her Kim after Kim Kardashian, because my husband was always like, the
Does
Kardashians.
everyone name her? Does every wig have a name in
Yeah,
general?
Heidi is my husband's favorite. We still.
I feel like there's some TMI over here.
Heidi comes out on special days.
That's where the baby came from.
Seriously. I'm like, what was I talking about? So I started wearing wigs, and the first month didn't tell anyone because it looked a lot like my hair extensions. Because I was so embarrassed. I actually went on a family vacation and like didn't even tell like my mother-in-law, my father-in-law. So after a month of like really feeling more comfortable with it, I thought, I gotta share this because there's gotta be other girls going through this. And so I did, and I kind of discovered this like hidden epidemic of women that were going through something so similar. And it was the first time that I started meeting my audience face to face, and they would be crying or they would be feeling something so much more than just like a good deal that you shared. And I loved that. I loved that I could connect with people and help people in that way. So for that year, I decided, okay, I am just going to focus on trying to grow my hair back. Since I did study kinesiology and chemistry, my dad's so happy I used that degree. I started making my own little potions and my own serums in my bathroom and shared everything online with, at the time, my YouTube audience and Instagram. And people started asking for the products. They started asking, like, can you send us some? And that's how my hair company, Divi, was kind of born. Was I met with a chemist and said, okay, these are my goals. I want to keep it clean. I want women that are trying to start a family, men that are struggling with maybe using too much Rogaine, whatever it is. I want like everyone to feel comfortable whenever they're going through something so emotional. And so that first year, launched it on Instagram just through a link, and we sold 40 million in a year of one
Wow.
SKU. And
That's
it was wild. And I always tell
insane.
people it was because of, honestly, the before and afters that people were so passionate to share with their audience and their friends and their neighbors and their moms that were going through something similar, because it's so emotional. And so I just feel like connecting with people on a deeper level outside of surface is really what got us here today.
Yeah, and I love that, like, you being vulnerable and taking your wig off, like literally launched this company that is doing, millions upon millions of dollars in sales. And it's very, very, I love that. I love that story.
Thanks.
And Maya, you had a story too. You mentioned, Danny just mentioned meeting her fans,
Yeah.
first, face to face for the first time. You just came off a book tour.
Oh gosh, that was amazing. I suffer from imposter syndrome, and my publishers wanted me to do book signings, and I was like, nope, no one's going to show up, and I'd be standing at Barnes & Noble like with a pen and a book, and no one's going to show up. But we decided to do just one in my hometown, and it completely sold out with a wait list. And when I showed up, I had my parents there, but there was a lot of Vietnamese people who showed up. And I don't want to cry, because I cried enough this week. But there was like people who stood up, and it was just like this love fest of like, I'm so proud of you as a Vietnamese person representing our community, like everything you're doing, and like it made me feel like I did something besides just a cookbook, that I was kind of paving the way and showing the way, and that we don't have to be just doctors and lawyers, but like we could do whatever we want if we put our heart and mind to it.
That's so cool. I'm sure with your platforms, you get a ton of offers, whether they're endorsements or to start your line of this, line of that.
Yeah.
How do you decide what you say yes to, and how do you decide what you say no to? Like, how do you work with brands?
It depends on how much money it is. I'm just kidding. No,
There's
really.
a price for everything.
There's a price for everything. It has to fall in line with health, right? Or it just, me as my life, a refugee, mom, dog owner, I've done things that fall in line with what I do. But sometimes I try to question it when there's so much money in my face, like McDonald's wanted me to show cuties in their Happy Meal, and like I lost sleep over deciding.
What are cuties?
Little oranges.
Oh, okay.
The oranges.
Oh no, I thought it was like a new McDonald's brand.
Like
thing.
toys.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
Yeah, and it's like, well, it's the fruit. Kids could eat fruit in a Happy Meal, and I lost sleep over it
Yeah.
because it was a lot of money. And then at the end of the day, I did not want to be attached to McDonald's, and had to say no to a new car.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's hard. I don't know if this is a great philosophy, but I'm always like, I want to work with brands that make me cooler instead of working with a brand that you make cooler.
Yeah.
Because there's so many opportunities now, and I also
Well,
want.
congrats for being on the Forbes stage today. That's
Thanks.
This is the coolest.
Yeah, it was
We're
very
not
cool.
old. We're
but that was
cool.
just something that I always thought about. I'm like, okay, if I'm going to work with a brand, I want it to like elevate the brand. And not only that, but I want the brand to work with me in a way that they don't work with any other influencers, and a lot of times that's through storytelling. And so I don't want to just see like another brand deal where I'm getting up and showing a promo code. I'm like, can I come out to your offices and get a tour? And can we meet like the person who actually came up with this product? Or what are the ingredients that make it special? And so for me, when I'm working with a brand, it goes so much beyond just trying to sell product. I'm like, let me help you tell your story, and let me help you get your message across. And so if a brand isn't really willing to do that, I probably will just go on to the next one, because so many are these days.
Yeah. That's super cool. And in terms of what advice, I'm sure there's been ups and downs in this creator world for sure. 12 years.
yeah.
If you could like go back in time and talk to your younger selves right before you're going to become a creator, or right before you're going to go viral, what advice would you give yourself, or maybe each other? I don't know.
Well, I feel like because we've been in this space for so long, we've experienced it all, right? And it's never ending, this imposter syndrome, this anxiety, this stress, always this comparison of others. Like, we're constantly comparing ourselves to fellow creators.
All these young TikTokers.
All these young
Oh, yeah,
TikTokers.
so-
And I expressed to my husband even the night before I came here that I've been so busy, I've been so burnt out, but I feel like I can't step away from this race that we're all on, because I feel like I have my marker, and there's this young 20-something single, no kids, like all the time in the world to create content and to catch up to me. So I can't like fall off, I can't stop, I can't stop feeding this machine. But then at what point is it enough? Like, is 1 million followers enough? Is 10 million followers enough? Like, at what point do we say, is that enough? And I just have to like find my reason and remind myself what I started this for was to create a business for myself, to support my family, to have my girls be proud of me and show them that mommy can do it. And that is what I kind of hone on to.
Do you have like a follower number that's your goal? Are you happy with what you have?
Originally, it was supposed to be 10,000 followers.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
getting there.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
getting there.
Don't
You're
worry,
almost
I'm
there.
tagging you in everything.
Oh, all right, here we go.
I'm tagging everything. Please follow Steve.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, I resonate with all of that. It's so hard because it's just like the grind never stops. For me, I wish I would have really focused on my inner circle before I focused so much on the grind and hustling, because especially as you start to grow, you start to get so much feedback about your lifestyle and being a mom and growing a business and are you doing it right? And if you're not really secure in your community, it can be really easy to listen to. Sometimes they're lies, sometimes they're a little valid, but it's nice to have community and friends that really have my back, that are offline, that I'm like, okay, am I being a good wife? Am I being a good mom? Am I showing up in the areas that I really need to show up? And if that group disagrees, then I need to listen. But if they're like, no, you're doing great, then I just need to like get out of my DMs, post and ghost, and just keep moving forward.
Post and ghosts? I
I
like
love
that.
I'm a pro. I just post and I ghost, and I don't need to look at it. And I have some girls on my team that will like monitor if I said something wrong, or like we need to change something, they'll tell me, and they'll be like, hey, okay, red alert, like it's a Sunday, and I'll go in and address something if I need to. Yeah. But that has helped my mental health so much, and just remembering the fact that at the end of the day, it's really not about me. Like, I'm here to be a service for my girls and my community, and I'm here to serve them and give them like really great deals or inspiration and influence their actual behavior on a daily basis. Like, how can I actually change their lives where they wake up and they do something different, or they think a different way, because I inspired them in some way. And sometimes it's a little thing, and sometimes it's a really big thing. And so I'm just always thinking of ways that maybe I can influence and change their lives for better.
It's amazing.
It's hard, especially whenever you make mistakes too.
Well,
that can be
I
hard.
always say if you haven't been canceled at least once, then
Girl, I've been canceled so many times. It's not
I've
funny.
lost count. But that means you've done something.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
I remember when I used to be like envious of people that like had hate pages, and I'm like, people follow you enough to hate you?
You
Like,
wanted,
that's so crazy.
you wanted a hate page?
I would love
Kind
one.
of. At the time, I had a bunch of friends that were like, had all these like hate pages. Now I don't. No, it's hard. It's hard.
I'm the kind of person who would create a fake account to talk crap to my haters.
That's
Oh.
new.
That's me.
Oh,
but I don't have
that's-
the time anymore.
That's savage.
But
I love
I've
it.
done
I
it.
love it.
Do you read your comments?
Oh, I've stopped on YouTube because they're so mean for my mental health. I do have my assistant help me filter through it so I don't have to want to jump off a cliff some days because they're
good,
so
okay.
mean. Because they find something wrong with everything. It
Yeah,
could
they
be
nit-
like
every-
the color of my nails is not it, or my hair should be in a hairnet when I'm cooking. Like, who cooks on the Food Network with a hairnet?
That could be a new look for you. That could be a really good new look.
I mean, I could try it if
Yeah.
it'll go viral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very humbling. It's
Yeah.
the internet trolls and then your kids that are also very humbling. I walk in my daughter's bedroom and she's like, "Mommy, you're so big. Your face is." I'm like, "Thank you, Stella. Thank you. I appreciate
Oh
that."
yeah, I have the teen girls who are really into TikTok.
Yeah.
And when I told them I was doing TikTok, I was like, "Oh, so what is this new app? It's like it used to be Musical.ly, and there's dancing, it's TikTok." They're like, "Mom,
Yeah.
no, please don't." And that's when I knew.
You got it. That's
I
you.
got it. I'm like, I'm doing TikTok.
I love it.
Yeah, my kids are young. My kids are banned from social media, but then they look at me like, "Wait, you're throwing a creator event in Hollywood?"
not fair.
But I can't. They're only 10 and 7, too young.
They'll
yeah.
thank you one day.
Yes, they
Yes.
will. You know, we have 2 minutes left, and I want to. You both talked about, you know, like the power that social media gives you, but also the hard work, the grind. You both have great brands. Like, what's like the end game? Like, where do you see yourselves in a couple of years? Are you still going to be doing the social media as much, or are you going to kind of move to something different? What do you see?
Yeah, I think launching Divvy was just a huge relief because being in the influencer industry for so long, like we've been very lucky and we've been blessed to have an audience that cares about our lives, but it can go away like that. And not because the industry isn't there, but honestly, it's more about like the mental health that I feel like is the biggest struggle for probably a lot of creators, is you just feel like the longevity is hard because it's so much and the grind is so hard. And so launching Divvy was like this huge relief because I thought, oh my gosh, we can build something outside of me where I don't have to be showing up every single day, especially as I have more kids and I want to spend more time with my babies or focus on my postpartum and not just feel like I have to get back on the grind. And so that has been a huge relief. As far as like goals with Divvy, I mean, we're in all Ultas, which was huge. Partnering with Ulta really like solidified to me that this can be bigger than just my personal brand. And hiring our first CEO, and we have a goal of hitting 100 million in revenue by the end of 2025. And so those are little things or the big things that I'm working towards that I can do behind the screen. And I can put my phone down and say, it's okay, I don't have to be filming a TikTok or a reel right now. Like, I'm working on something maybe that we could pass down to our kids one day. Like, just something greater than just the influencer. I mean, it's amazing, but also having something to back up. And so those are some of my personal goals. But I don't know. Honestly, I'll be in a wheelchair shilling Nordstrom outfits probably when I'm like 85 years old. I love it so much.
I'm the opposite. If I ever really, really make it, you will never hear from me again.
You're like, peace.
Mine's
You're
on
gonna-
some random
you're gonna
island.
post and ghost in like a reel.
Post
in a reel.
and ghost.
Post and ghost.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
I think for me, the cookbook was such a great success, and I think it was because I spent so many years building this trust and this relationship with my audience by giving them so much value over and over, that when the cookbook came out, they bought it with like some insistence, because selling cookbooks is actually very hard, that I've learned.
Sure, yeah.
So I think the next thing is a product line. We're looking into cookware. So my number one question is what pan I'm using.
Yeah, is it
And-
safe? Is it safe? Is it clean?
Yeah.
All that stuff.
All that. So like I swear Hexclad owes me money because I use them in all my videos, but I think it's time for me to have my own kind of pan set to sell.
What would you call it, like my pan?
There's actually,
So good.
do I have to pay
I
you
love
money
it.
for that?
Trademark. Yeah, there you go.
Did we just make history?
I think we just made
You made
history.
it. I can feel it.
My pan coming soon.
I told you, we're here to make money these next 2 days,
Yeah.
and we're going to make money. Well, that's a great place to end it. Danny, Mai, thank you so much. Thank you all for your attention. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're now excited to bring you our first Creator Upfronts.
My name is Cassandra Bankson, your acne big sister, resident medical esthetician, and today we are going to take a little trip down memory lane. On December 15th of 2010, I uploaded a video to the internet. I'm going to show you guys what my face looks like without makeup. This is probably the most nerve-wracking thing that I could possibly do because it is my biggest insecurity. This video almost cost me my career, but little did I know that it would start my trajectory.
It's now to talk more about her struggle with acne. It's Cassandra Bankson, and you do want to teach others.
Oh my goodness.
And give us a few of your tips.
My name is Cassandra. I want everyone to feel confident and beautiful as who they are. These are 2 sheet masks.
Please welcome Cassandra Bankson to the show.
Listen to this beauty industry secret that
Is that why this got deleted? Wait.
What does it mean to be on YouTube today?
I think it's very different than what people expect it to be.
I'm so thrilled today for our next Women in Business series. So how did you get into the beauty industry?
By not feeling beautiful. When I first started posting on YouTube, it wasn't because of skincare, it was because I was insecure about my acne. And as I grew, as the channel grew, it helped me realize that to educate, to entertain, and to inspire and empower other people to love and know their skin, it's what I live to do. And without this YouTube channel, or without stripping off my makeup that first time and then again, I don't know if it would have been possible.
Please welcome Cassandra Bankson, skinfluencer and content creator, and interviewer Alexandra York, associate editor, Forbes.
Thank you so much for being here, Cassandra. Thank you guys all for being here. So they just watched your sizzle, but I want to start off with, kind of a question about the evolution that you've seen in social media. You started in 2010. What's been the biggest change in your audience from then to now?
I see evolution as a wave, right? There's the top where everything is good, and then there's that crash. And social media and our audiences go through this constant evolution. I think the biggest thing is that when we started, social media was just your friends and family. People didn't want to see sponsorships. And now if I'm not tagging a product that I use, people are asking me what it is. And I think authenticity has been really one of the only key flow-throughs.
Who is your target demographic today?
As someone who grew up with acne, I mainly speak to those who have struggled with their skin and want to feel better in it. That can be men and women, but it's usually younger women who are of acne age, or their moms, people who are in their 20s and 30s, intelligent, smart, but really struggling with their skin.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Your primary platform is YouTube, and that's kind of where you started. But how are you innovating on YouTube compared to other platforms that exist now, YouTube being one of kind of the older social media platforms? What's the difference in how you're approaching each of these spaces?
Yeah, a hot take, I think that every social media platform has a space for different things. So YouTube, especially long form, people are coming to watch a conversation or a commercial. That's amazing, but it's more of a conversation. Things like TikTok are great for discovery, but I don't even see my friends on TikTok, so it's more of a new trendy platform, but very quick and in the moment. Something like Instagram is a little more curated. It's idealistic. It's the vacation shots. It's who we want to be. And I think that if you understand your audience and who you are on each of those platforms, it gives your audience a better view of the entire scope of you. And that's kind of how my team and I approach it.
Definitely. How do you go about deciding which of these different types of content are going to be on these different platforms in terms of like what your purpose for it is? Some might be for brand partnerships, some might be just to increase engagement. How do you see this space when you're deciding like what you want out of a piece of content that you've created?
Yeah, for us, I think that everything we do is to educate, entertain, and empower. And so whenever I'm creating content, I look at our company's core values and what I would want to know about this product as a beginner, and then I share that esthetician opinion. And for each of those separate platforms in that creation, it kind of goes back to what was the top piece of content on this platform? How can I remake that in a way that's authentic to me and authentic to what my audience is asking? A lot of it is viewer feedback, new products that come out, news trends, Forbes articles, and if there's a catchy title that's working somewhere else on the internet, you can take that and share your hot take as a content creator. So we do a lot of that.
Yeah. Do you have any examples of a specific piece of content that has been really exemplary of that, or that you feel like has really taken off because you've been keeping up with those trends and what's going on in the industry?
Yeah, on YouTube Shorts, I do a lot of first impressions. So it's my medical esthetician first impressions of a product and why it does or doesn't work. And ones that actually take off are the ones where I don't like a product. And I talk about authentically why it didn't work for me, but who this is right for. And that way, if there's someone who has an opposite skin type, they know what's going to work, and they can find something for them regardless of where they fall on that. So that's been really great. And then reaction videos, commentary videos, I think those can be tailored to each niche.
How have you gone about working with other brands in the space? What have those brand partnerships looked like, and what have some of those examples been of brands you've worked with?
Yeah, I'm so honored I've been able to work with some of my favorite brands. And Alex, I think it all starts from loving a brand and being curious about it. I spoke and invested so much time, social equity, and just testing and money into these brands before I ever was a partner with them. And I think that the brands saw that, and so then when there were opportunities, it was extraordinarily authentic. There are brands like The Ordinary, they're budget effective and I love them. There are brands like Glow Recipe that are constantly innovating, creating new things. And then even box retailers like Walmart, Sephora, iHerb, so many amazing companies that can sell multiple different brands. So I think creators shouldn't be pigeonholed into one thing or another. There's products, there's services, and then there's also retailers.
What do you bring to these conversations with brands in terms of like what your creative process is? Or you mentioned that you have a team behind you that's helping with all of this. What do you bring to the table that you think is really enticing to the brands that you work with?
Personally, I think it is the brutal authenticity. And I think it's also leaning on the education behind it and the personal experience. Think about who you are and what you do. There's like a big circle. What you know and what you can talk about is here, but what you won't shut up about is here. And there's kind of this little intersection in between. And anyone can talk about makeup or fashion or beauty or business or tech, but no one can do it with your story, with your personal experience, with your background. And when you combine those two things, you're creating something that's irreplaceable. And so with my story of being a model with acne and then being an esthetician who solved it, that's what I try to do.
Yeah, I love that. My last question for you, 10 seconds left. What do you think is your biggest prediction in the future of the skincare space that all all skincare creators should be paying attention to right now?
Being careful of filters. I think they're very popular, but we want to see real products. And then live shopping, I think, is already huge, but I think it's going to be even bigger.
Yeah, well, very cool. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm your host, Dr. Robin B. Who am I? I am the definition of a multi-hyphenate, a health and wellness creator who's been in the game for over 10 years, building consistently, and it's been a wild ride. I've had the chance to work with some of the biggest brands like Nike, Rain, and Fabletics, which honestly just fueled my passion to create something of my own. That's when Refuel was born, my activewear brand that's all about high-quality, performance-driven athletic wear. I wanted something that didn't just look good, but performed at the highest level. Now, here's where it gets exciting. I also have a doctorate in pharmacy, so I'm not just out here creating content. I'm educating my audience of over 2.85 million strong across all platforms. We're talking fitness, health, beauty tips, everything to help you become the best version of yourself. I love helping women level up, glow up, and feel empowered. But it doesn't stop online. I've taken that passion offline and created Ladies of the Table, a dinner series that brings together 15 creators every single month. We network, we connect, and we dive into culture through these amazing culinary experiences. Speaking of experiences, I also created a talk show called The Dough Show that challenges creators to answer tough questions while breaking a sweat. It's all about growing together and breaking boundaries. Because honestly, I don't believe in limits. I'm here to shatter them, and I won't stop until I've built a legacy that I'm proud of, and one that inspires others to do the same.
And now, joining Alex in conversation, please welcome Robin Barrett, wellness content creator and CEO, Refuel.
Hello, Robin, welcome.
Thank you.
So we are going to dive right into it. We only have 5 minutes here.
Okay.
You have been online for 10 years building this content platform for yourself. I want to know, especially in the fitness industry, what's been the biggest change over those 10 years?
Oh, wow. First, hi, everyone. Thank you guys for being here. I have seen so much change over the last 10 years. First, the rise of influencers, right? Fitness influencers weren't as big as they are now. And what I saw with that is like more authenticity shown than just perfect pictures or perfect workouts. It's been like the process, which I fell in love with, because even my story is just the process, like how I got from point A to point B, not just the transformation. So I see a lot of coaches really diving into that. Also, wearable tech, right? We have our Apple Watches, we have our fitness apps. And that's what I'm a part of as well as a coach. And it just brings that in-person experience home. So it's been so much evolution. Of course, there's AI, there's technology, there's automation, and it's made it such a better space.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You mentioned their authenticity, and I think that word comes up all the time in these conversations with creators. What does that mean to you? How do you bring that forward in the content that you're creating?
I think it's super important, and I know there's creators here, there's marketers here, and brands, and I think it's important that the marketers don't dilute that authenticity, and the brands understand that from a creative standpoint. So I think it's really important that we are in charge of our narratives sometimes, or we work in a collaboration. And I think that, you know, everyone pretty much is understanding it, but it's only going to get better and evolve, because that's how you build community, right? Like, someone wants someone who's real, and especially being a pharmacist as a background, you know, you get scared of the doctor. You want to know that that's a real person that cares about your health, cares about your feelings. So I think it's important to show.
Yeah, and that background of yours, having your doctorate in pharmacy, bringing that to the social media space, that's obviously something that probably sets you apart from a lot of other fitness creators across these platforms. What else do you think makes you stand out in this crowded market right now?
I think that having the vantage point from the creative perspective, the marketing perspective, and having my own brand with Refuel, which is my new activewear brand, I think seeing it from that perspective makes me kind of different and unique in the sense that, yes, I'm using science-based fitness facts with my workouts, but also knowing like that marketing techniques and those hooks to get people to buy into the app, or when it comes to brands, how to market according to their aesthetic. And then having my own brand, I use creators myself, I use marketing tools myself. So I think that kind of making it a business versus just being an influencer, but being influential makes it different.
Yeah, when you're coming into these conversations with other brands you've worked with, like you mentioned in your sizzle, Nike, Rain, Athletics, how do those conversations look? Are you offering the idea right away? Are you working with these teams to, like you said, find what works for you, but also works with them? What do those conversations and the creative process look like for you?
That's a great question. I think it works in different ways. I love brands who definitely give me more of my own energy and my own tone and how I want to present it. But we do go back and forth with drafts and edits, and you know, here's my take on it. And that is what I think works. And then also adding something different that they weren't expecting. And that's how you get that continuous long-term partnership and working with them.
How do you find that what makes, you know, or something that's unexpected?
Yeah.
Is there an example that you have that you feel like really took off, that you know, saw that maybe the other brand was like, I don't know if this is going to work, but you're like, I know this is, just trust me on this.
Just trust me on this. I think it's like, I love, this is the best part of being a creator for me, is the creativity that goes into it. I think I kind of have like a production eye. Like, I honestly would rather be on the behind the camera sometimes, but like, because I know what I want to see, if I look at a commercial, if I look at a brand, that's what I try to emulate in my own way. That's what makes it me, that's what makes it authentic. So when I present that and you feel it, you know, the brand's like, okay, we get it. we get it, you know, and they accept it. So that's how my process is. It's just like over-deliver. Yeah.
Totally. You mentioned at the beginning that AI and automation and a lot of other things are coming into play right now.
Yeah.
I want to ask you for our last question here, what do you think is the future of the fitness, health, and wellness content creation space, and how are you tapping into that, whether that's like a new technology coming, a new trend coming? What's your vision for the future here?
Yeah, I think the AI is gonna like take over in some households. Like people are going to want to have fitness influencers and apps that are easy and you can get right away. But I think we need to be key opinion leaders, KOLs versus influencers. And as fitness coaches, we need to actually have science-based and something different that a bot can't do. Right? So yes, we're going to lean towards automation and AI, but I think there's still a value with real people.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I wish we could dive into everything else.
I know, right?
But this is so exciting to chat with you. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mandalee Page. I am a female Asian American founder. I'm a content creator and I'm a model from the beautiful island of Oahu in Hawaii. Growing up in Hawaii has permanently shaped the way I view the world, create content, dream up my businesses, and the touch I bring to my partnerships. I came from two entrepreneurial parents and I was truly surrounded by the utmost beautiful scenery, wellness-forward lifestyle, fresh food and flavors that tie back to my Asian roots, plus this culture and connectivity to nature. It really pushed me to pursue a path where I could blend it all together. I actually originally grew my following as a model, but in 2020, I decided to diversify my content because I've always been the face of someone else's brand, and I wanted to be the face and the voice of my own brand. I really saw beauty in being a creator after having been someone who really had no voice as a model. I could use this platform to share my values, my interests, connect with my audience, and share my trials and tribulations of my projects and story. And while being a creator and having partnerships with brands that I love is great, there is something greater: creating a brand of my own. So I started and sold a coffee shop in Venice and launched my Better For You iced tea drink, Kira. Kira, my iced tea brand, reflects my commitment to my childhood, wellness, sustainability. And as a founder and team of just two, we do everything: conceptualizing, production, sales, deliveries, marketing, content creation, you name it, we do it. And being a female founder has furthered my partnerships not only as a creator, but also as a founder. I have been able to cross-promote and create partnerships that benefit both Kira and my personal brands partnerships. Now, when I have a partnership, I not only can create content in a way that I see the world, but I also have insights and experience as a founder to execute with the brand's goals in mind. It's strange to say, but my life is my passion. I eat, breathe, sleep, and am utterly obsessed with my projects, whether it be my newest wellness hack, the renovations we're personally doing on our own house, the adrenaline of nailing a new account for Kira, partnering with brands that I love, or simply trying to depict that feeling of Hawaii through my iced tea and through my everyday content. They all work in perfect flow.
Please welcome Mandalee Page, model, lifestyle content creator, and founder, Kira.
Hello, Amanda, welcome.
Hi.
How are you feeling?
I'm good, how are you?
Great, I'm so glad that we got to see that sizzle about your evolution from being a model to being a creator and business owner. I want to ask you right now, you're on all these different platforms, you have multiple different ways that you're reaching audiences. What's the most important way or the biggest platform in terms of like how you're reaching people today?
Interesting question. Right now, my main, for me that I started was on Instagram, but obviously as things change, I realized that I need to diversify, so I've been on TikTok and I'm going to be launching YouTube, but I think that each platform kind of holds a space for different reasons, and so it's hard to say that I'm like, right now I'm more focused on Instagram, but I'm actually definitely trying to diversify.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
How do you go about creating content for different platforms, especially when you have something like not just your personal brand, but a business that you're building as well? What's your vision and what's your kind of mindset behind what content belongs on which of these spaces?
Good question. I'm still trying to figure that out all the time, but I think that it's good to think, honestly, sometimes it's like, okay, like let's just see what sticks, but I actually find myself having a hard time being like, okay, is this founder content for me or is this for my business? Because now a business is really tied to its founders. I think I'm still kind of sorting that out as we go, but I always try to be really authentic and try to show a lot of behind the scenes stuff because at the end of the day, there are like a million amazing creators, and that's kind of what differentiates me. So I try to really focus on the behind the scenes.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
You mentioned in your sizzle that, being a model and working with other, brands and being the face of their companies and not really necessarily having a say in it was something that you wanted to change. What about that really wasn't striking you the right way? What did you want to use your platform to voice?
Yeah, so when you're a model, you're really truly just the face of someone else's brand. Like, you show up, you're there to shoot, like, you have no input, and I've always felt like there was something more for me. And so when the pandemic hit 2020, I kind of was like, okay, like, this is kind of my moment to change into the creator space. And I already had a following as a model, but really like honing in. And so I wrote a list of 20 brands that I wanted to work with, and I hit all of them that year. And being able to speak to all the brands that I personally love and go about the creativity of it, like, was a complete game changer for me. Like, I could choose the way I wanted to film it, the way I wanted to share it, what I actually loved versus like, hey, you're gonna shoot this today, maybe I don't love that brand, but you're the face, so show up. And then obviously, like, as it snowballed, having my own brand is like the epitome, right? So like, I went from modeling to content creation, and then now I have my own brand that I literally get to be the voice of.
Yeah, I love that. You mentioned too that with Kira, you've been able to tap into brand partnerships in another way, not just as you as the creator, you as the model, but really creating collaborative projects with these other companies that you're working with. Is there a specific example of an event, a campaign, or something that you've done with another brand that you feel like has been a really successful collaboration?
Yeah, so on the social content creation side, have been in touch with Poosh, and we were able to actually sponsor the Poosh at Coachella event, which was amazing. And because I have such good relationships, both as a model and a content creator, and because I facilitate those relationships, people kind of give me the benefit of the doubt, and they're like, hey, like, I'm gonna give you a break. Like, yes, we have sponsors that pay for these spots, but like, we have a relationship with you, and we wanna help you out too. So it's been really great to be able to do both. So we did that at Coachella. I also kind of have bled that into modeling. I'm actually about to shoot something with Travis Matthew, which is a golf brand, and maybe not so collaborative on my drink and golf, but they're like, look, we want to highlight you as a female founder who's also shooting with us as a model, and we want to incorporate that you have Kira, and so we're going to do a PR push with that, and I'm also shooting with them as a model. So it's been cool to collaborate on like so many different levels,
Definitely. How has being a female founder impacted the way that you are working with these brands? Like you said, it can be like a talking point in some instances, but what else about it has impacted the conversations that you're having or what you're bringing to the table?
Well, it gives me two sides of the spectrum. So like, obviously as a creator, I'm like, okay, this is like what I bring to the table, this is my personality, but I'm like, okay, as a brand, this is what I know they want me to execute, but how can I do it in an authentic way where it kind of makes sense for both? And I think on the brand perspective, like, they're seeing me and they're like, okay, I'm Asian American, like, I'm a female founder. I bring kind of like different dynamics to the table versus like, let's just hire a creator. So I can kind of interweave all of it.
Yeah, for sure. How then do you go about, and this is the last question for you. I know this goes back. How do you go about continuing to build your personal brand with building your business? Where do those lines cross? How much of it is, just all entwined in one?
Oh, God, it's so intertwined, and I love it because it flows together in such a beautiful way, which I'm like honestly really lucky and grateful for, but it really just all goes together. Like, my life is work and my work is life, but I'm genuinely so passionate about it that it like doesn't feel like work.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining me up here.
Thank you, everyone.
Hey guys, I'm Callie. I'm a plus size fashion blogger, but I also travel. For as long as I can remember, I've always loved fashion. Clothes, sparkles, arts and crafts.
Okay, how cute is this dress, you guys? I love all of the detailing.
It wasn't until I got a little bit older that I realized that sometimes fashion didn't love me back. The fashion industry didn't seem very inclusive, and when I started working in luxury retail as an adult, I really fell in love with all of the knowledge and history and design elements that came with working in luxury fashion houses. And I think that's when I decided to start sharing outfits online. And I realized that I was creating the content that I wanted to see because I didn't see myself represented on social media. It's been so incredibly humbling and rewarding to be able to create content for people who need realistic, everyday outfits that make them feel empowered. There have been so many other kind of side quests, I guess, that have come from building this community online that have been so fun. One of them has been creating trips that I host that are international, that allow my followers to join me and travel together. We've been to Bali, we've been to Greece, we've been to Mexico, we've been to Italy, we've been to Ireland. I'm so excited to see where we go next. And then when I moved to Nashville from Los Angeles, the idea to open an in-person brick and mortar boutique with an online extension started to develop. And that's how Ari and Ava was born. We started to custom cut our styles from size 0X to 5XL. And I think one of the most important things for brands to know right now is that plus size consumers are becoming more aware. And they're starting to recognize when brands continue to exclude people who look like them from their marketing and social media. My goal is to create positive fashion content and a page that acts as a resource, an encyclopedia of looks that work on curvy bodies, that are uplifting, that don't perpetuate negative ideals about our body types, and a community space where people feel as though they are welcomed and they're not the odd person out.
And now, please welcome Callie Richards, content creator and business owner.
I can just go out with it. We're going? Am I going? Okay.
Hello. Hi. Thought you were going to leave me hanging up here. Just kidding. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm super excited to chat with you about all that you're building right now online. I first want to start off by you telling me a little bit about how you got started with social media in the first place. What was the first post you made? What platform was that on?
Oh my gosh, okay. So I started in 2016 on Instagram, and it was like a total hobby, just like no goals whatsoever. And it was just like an outfit of the day. I think it was probably inspired by some of the very first plus size fashion content I had seen on Instagram. And I thought, you know what, like, there's like 3 people doing this and none of them live in my country, so I can't find these clothes anywhere. And so I just started posting like very casual outfit of the days. And 2016 was a different time on the internet. So it was kind of easy to like get 10,000 followers all of a sudden. And it sort of just snowballed very slowly from there.
Yeah, what did that growth look like? When did you go from this is just totally a hobby to this is a business that I'm building?
A little over a year later, I'd say close to a year and a half, I quit my job in luxury goods. I was working as a fragrance expert, and I decided I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna move back to California and give this a real go. And it was just Instagram really at that point. We didn't have, I mean, there was YouTube, but I'm not a YouTube creator. I've never been a YouTube creator. So I was putting all my eggs in my 25,000 followers on Instagram in 2017. And, you know, now we have Facebook followings and TikTok followings and so many other things, but yeah, about a year and a half in.
Okay, I love that. Right now, you're focused on the plus size fashion community, but I'm sure that while that is, you know, one subset of people, everyone, you know, anyone can get something from your content. It's not as niche as probably a lot of brands used to think that it was.
Yeah.
What is your demographic today? Who are you reaching with the stuff that you're putting out?
Like the first thing that I like to remind people of, because not everyone's plus size, not everyone knows this, but 68% of American women wear a size 14 or above. So like your mom, your sister, your best friend, they're plus size. Mm-hmm. It's the majority of people. And so even people who maybe aren't exclusively shopping in plus size brands, I get so many messages from people who grew up in an era where they were told that there was exclusively one way to be beautiful. And they're like, thank you so much, I'm 55 and I wore shorts for the first time. And so it's not just for plus size people to be reminded that you deserve to live a life that makes you happy and comfortable, regardless of your age or your size.
Mm-hmm. And how has that then turned into things like brand partnerships, the store that you opened, you know, going from sharing this messaging to really building a business and multiple brands around it? Can you walk me through kind of what you're bringing to the table there?
I think at the beginning it was very apples and apples. It was plus size partnerships with plus size brands. And luckily, very slowly, we've started to see brands recognize that people want to see themselves represented across sectors. We talk about representation, and Lord knows I'm only qualified to speak about what it's like to not see a plus size person in travel content, or beauty content, or home content, or motherhood content, or any of those things. And so we've started to expand brand partnerships to everything: beauty, fragrance, home, live streaming, and people love it. They just want to see the person who they feel a connection with, showing them the whole spectrum of their life. And we started I founded Ari and Ava, which is my plus size boutique in Nashville and online. And that's been another thing where people said, I just wish, especially post-COVID, I just want to shop in stores. The stores are pulling plus sizes out of their retail locations, and people are like, what am I supposed to do? I need something last minute. I need to try this on. I have a special occasion. I haven't worn jeans in 10 years, and you want me to order 15 pairs online and get them home and try them on and return them and do this again? And so that's sort of where the idea came from to open a brick and mortar store.
Yeah, I love that. And you mentioned too in your sizzle that you are bringing people on trips. You just mentioned too that you are, incorporating live shopping and all, many different kind of sectors of content creation and, working with both your audiences and brands. What do you think has been the most successful partnership or project that you've worked on so far?
Oh my gosh. This is gonna sound so crazy, but undergarments, discussing openly and partnering with brands that sell undergarments that are size inclusive, it's like not glamorous, right? Like no one wants to talk about their bras and their underwear, but especially for plus size people who are already so far removed from fashion content, and then someone finally is like, I'll be the one to come on the internet in my underwear and I'll tell you about this shapewear or whatever. That has been fantastic. And then the trips, having people who didn't have the confidence to travel as solo plus size women, maybe of a certain age, whatever the case may be able to experience a group trip with someone they feel like they know, and I feel like I know them too, and it makes it such a joyful, memorable experience. And I feel like those two things are totally opposite ends of the spectrum, but they've been so rewarding.
And both working to create that community that you're creating online. Well, thank you so much. We are out of time, unfortunately, but I appreciate you joining me up here.
Thank you so much.
And now for the conversation, what the world's largest company thinks about the creator economy, please welcome William White, CMO, Walmart, and interviewer Seth Matlins, Managing Director, Forbes, CMO Network.
What's up, everybody?
Yeah, hey.
What's up, William?
Hey, how you doing?
All right, I'm going to start off script to begin with because that's how you and I roll.
That is. I would expect nothing less.
So the idea for the event that finds all of us here today came up about, I think it was April, what year is it, 24? So April 23. You and I were in DC.
We were.
I came up to you and I said, we have an idea for an event, and I told you the name of the event, and you said to me, we're in.
Yes.
Which was really like the best thing ever for me.
Then it took us a little while to get there.
It took a little while, but here we are. But what was it when you heard the name? Obviously the name kind of explains the concept that led you to we're in.
Yeah. So I think it's very similar to when a creative agency pitches an idea, and if they can say it in 2 words, and you're like, oh my God, we have to do it, then you know it's going to be a great idea. And I think on this one, you said Creator Upfronts, and I didn't have to think about it. It was visceral, but thinking that through and saying it out, it's like, well, this is the fastest growing, hottest part of the marketing industry. I think it's what is really advancing marketing as far as collapsing the funnel, all of the things that we're striving for in terms of building a brand moment while selling. And
all right, well, you're getting too far ahead. You're getting too far ahead. I'm going to ask you about that. It was a great
idea. I had it like that. We wanted to be a part of it because that's a big part of our growth. And we wanted to have the opportunity to announce to creators that we're here to play.
All right, we're going to talk about that. This is the lesson. Don't go off script. Just stick to the script. All right. Before we get into that, and we are going to talk about that, before we get into Walmart Creator, as the company's CMO, I actually want to start talking about Walmart because I happen to understand a fair amount about the business. I mean, you are the world's largest retailer. Something like 250 million people a week go through your doors, physical and digital, or is that just physical?
150 million people.
Physically.
Physical going through the doors, but then 250 million visits to the site each week.
That's scale.
Yeah. 90% of Americans shop in a Walmart in a given year.
That's scale.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to make sure that everybody here actually understands that, because understanding the breadth and depth of this company, but also understanding the brand, because you've done a lot of work around the brand, begins to contextualize Walmart Creator. So I want to get into why you made the commitment, but just to make sure everybody's on the same page, from a Walmart perspective, what is, besides being the world's biggest retailer, what is Walmart today? And what's it, how's what it is today from a brand perspective maybe a little different than 2 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever?
Yeah. How long do we have? That's a big question. I mean, so we talked about the scale, but like just really briefly, most people know maybe at some level, but Walmart started 60 plus years ago, single store in Northwest Arkansas. Today we're in, I think, 24 countries in the US, some of those big numbers that we talked about. But I think the reality that people know, the history, the heritage of the brand is still very store-centric. Mm-hmm. And because we're within 10 miles of 90% of Americans. And it's also kind of the what we would call the things you have to have. I mean, the food, the consumables, that type of thing. I think we are known for that, and of course we are known for low prices, because that's just been true to how we are. But I think increasingly over the last few years, the investments that we've made is not just to be low prices alone, but to really play in the game of convenience. And so today, you can get thousands upon thousands upon thousands of items to your home in less than 3 hours, in less than an hour. And so that's kind of a different thing to know about Walmart. It's not just from the low price, it's also convenience. But also, it's not just the food and the consumables, all those staples. Like, we have done a lot to become more of a player in style and fashion. I mean, I'm wearing Walmart clothes today.
And we're sitting on Walmart chairs.
And we're sitting on Walmart's furniture. Yeah, it looks good, right? I mean, a little wrinkled maybe. I spilled some quinoa on my pants earlier.
I'm going to confess, I'm not, because I didn't get the memo.
Well,
but my boots are Kenzo, and I just bought them, and now that I've said that, I can write them off.
I paid a lot less for my clothes than
you did.
Yeah.
You
anyway,
did.
So we are increasingly, I think, known more as a digital-first place. We're known more as a place where you can get things that are on trend and stylish and great fits and fabrics and all of that. But when you really talk to the Walmart people who know us today, and now we're getting into more of the brand piece, I think what you hear is Walmart is about stability and momentum. The stability comes from...
There's a tension there.
Yeah, there's a tension there.
Yeah.
But the stability comes from the low prices, the convenience, the things that are known. But the momentum really comes from what you can do with that. So now, I mean, particularly in the inflationary times that we've been in, like, you have more money in your pocket, you have more time on your hands, you have things in your life that you can now go and invest in the things that you love that come from Walmart, supporting the things that you need and the things that you want in a ways that, kind of lift you up.
I like the distinction between need and want, which sometimes get conflated. Yep. All right, let's actually use that as a segue into this next part. Let's talk about Walmart Creator. And actually, I'm going to use your words. What was the need you saw and what was the want you saw that led Walmart first into the creator space? Because there was time between getting into the creator space and the development of the platform. So what was the first entry point?
Gosh, so well, these are people who know the space, but I would say most people might not realize December of 2020.
By the way, it's good that he recognizes these an audience who know this space. Yes. It's like he read the title to the event.
So December of 2020 was the first ever shoppable live stream on TikTok in the United States.
December 2020, so we're 4 years, okay.
Walmart did that. So Walmart was the first ever shoppable live stream on TikTok 4 years ago. And I think that was the moment we said...
And were you looking at what was happening in China
and
Japan?
We're a big global business, but we're also, stewards of what's going on, everywhere. We're stewards of what the consumer is going, where they're moving, certainly of the, marketing industry and really watching there. And so, we're seeing that taking off in China and other places. And we don't want to get left behind. We want to be the ones who are driving the narrative and driving and moving the industry forward. And so we did that. And I think that was the marker to say, hey, we're here to play. And I think everything we've done since is about how are we collapsing the funnel? How are we making brand and shopping, the conversion, the awareness, all kind of come together. And then we recognize that creators are the lifeblood of social commerce. And we wanted to get closer to that. And so we had the idea to create our own creator platform. And we launched as a beta in the fall of 22, really launched in the fall of 23. And it was all about how do we give the tools, the platform for creators to monetize on behalf of Walmart. And we've been really excited to get great feedback, learning along the way, and all of the things that we're hearing from this audience is helping us get better in the space.
How's it evolved?
There are a number of things. I would say the thing that is probably the next wave that we're excited about for this holiday season, for the first time, we are going to have our suppliers, so the people who sell stuff into Walmart that we sell, our suppliers are going to be able to tap into the Walmart Creator Platform. And so there's kind of this win-win-win.
So this may not be the right word, but is that you facilitating a relationship between creator and third-party marketer?
Well, yeah, exactly.
Third-party brand who's sold through Walmart.
And then it's going to be sold through Walmart.
All right, so you've mentioned a couple times that the funnel's collapsing, right?
Yeah.
The distance between inspiration, desire, and purchase.
Yeah, all right there.
Tell us how the platform is structured. And speaking, we're gonna segue to something for the marketers in a moment, but for the brand, for the inanimate brand marketers, but for the brand marketers who are human in the audience, the creators. Tell them how it's structured and what it looks like. So,
it starts with the belief that anyone can be a creator. I think in many ways we're democratizing the platform. We're not just for the superstars who are crushing it, also welcome, but really, if you're just starting out and exploring the space, we have an open platform for creators.
Well, it's not so much that anyone can be a creator, but anyone can make money being a creator.
That's right. That's right. So
because I cannot be a creator. I'm not. I just can't. I've tried.
Well, we got a team who can help you, Seth.
Yeah.
We can help.
I may be beyond help. Sorry, I interrupted.
Yeah. So the idea that this is a platform. It's a product where we provide easy access to product, and we have the tools for creators to earn. Whether that is posting to their audiences across whatever platform where they find their audiences, or all of them, and creating shoppable products there. You can create a storefront on Walmart.com, and there's storefronts there. You can tap into...
And if I have a storefront on Walmart.com, am I driving traffic there from my TikTok channel or my YouTube?
Yep, and someone can come repeat to see your channel on Walmart.com. And then you can also tap into campaigns that we're doing. And so big seasonal moments where, we have the whole range of marketing activities. Creator is a part of that. And you can take part in one of our big campaigns at a seasonal moment. And then there's all the analytics to learn how you're doing. There's all the earning, all that happens in one fell swoop in one place.
Let's talk about learning for a second, and give something to the inanimate brand marketers in the audience. As a CMO, on this 4-year journey from that first social commerce live on TikTok, what have you learned, and even more specifically, excuse me, what have you learned in working with this, working with creators and through this economy that's changed how you market, regardless of whether you're working with a creator?
Yeah, I think the biggest change is, what marketers are kind of going through, this brand performance, how that, it drives me crazy when people say, is that brand marketing? Is that, it really is blurring. It's all one thing. And I think if you're doing it right, you're building your brand at opportunities in the moments where you're selling. Today, 85% of our media buys are shoppable.
85%?
85%.
Is there any
and that includes, think about that, that includes connected TV and things like that. And so, for us to be able to tell a Walmart story, to tell a, story about these pants at Walmart in a way that is shoppable across 85% of the media that we're buying, that is a dramatic change from where we were 4 years ago when we were, trying to figure out what a shoppable live stream on TikTok was. And, I think that if within your organization as a marketer, that is the continued push along the way because, your job is to drive growth for the company. And this is a way to really create and capture demand all in one fell swoop. And, that's kind of the holy grail of marketing.
Have you found that for your business, and it may vary by category, it may vary by partner brand, that there are certain social channels that perform better than others?
It kind of depends. It depends on the audience. It depends on, the category, all those things. If it's about recipes, that might be one thing versus when it's about, the great new dress.
Right.
So those have inherent differences.
So what you're saying is that was a stupid question.
Yes, is the short answer to the question.
All right, a last question for you that will hopefully be somewhat less stupid. You guys can laugh. It would be nice. It's lonely up here.
So dark out there.
It is. Actually, the room is empty.
Okay, got it. You need a laugh track.
Yes. Yeah. Please. You've been doing this being working with creators, kind of an engine of this economy at scale and with the depth of commitment that, going back to being the first on TikTok, 85% being shoppable, 85% of the media being shoppable, that really goes, I think, beyond what most, certainly many, if not most, are doing in this market. And I'm wondering what you've learned along the way that can save those, in particular the creators in the audience, some time, make them smarter, right? The whole intent of our Creator Upfronts is that everybody on all sides of this conversation learns more, grows more, so they can earn more. What can you share as parting advice?
It's kind of funny. I feel like I have less wisdom to give to the creators. I want to take wisdom back. And, in this, Walmart takes a lot of pride in listening to our customers. And, I think by engaging in that, we learn and we evolve our business, we evolve the offering. I think we're still on the stage, and I hope we're always in this stage of we want to learn from the creators. And so every single product feature change that we're doing along the way is coming from feedback. So please keep, and we get a lot of feedback, we appreciate it all. And so, I think that for us, it's continuing to listen and learn. But, I mean, the thing that I would say is we're in a world where there will be more and more opportunities to earn and to sell. I mean, I think this is the example that I mentioned before of now suppliers can tap into the creator network. Like, we see the opportunity, we're hungry to tap into it more, and so we're just opening up the aperture. And so I think all of the changes that we'll continue to have are how do we create more space and more opportunity to sell. I mean, that's what we're in the business to do.
On all sides of it. William White, thank you not just for sitting and indulging my dumb questions, but for saying we're in April of 23rd. We wouldn't be here but for these guys. So thank you very much.
Cool. Thanks, everybody.
And now, joining Steve Bertoni for cross-platform strategies for maximizing reach, please welcome Drea Okeke, Forbes top creator, host, and speaker, and Savannah Moss, writer, director, and actor.
Thank you. All right, welcome. Hey, everyone, how are we feeling? How are we doing? All right. Woo! Don't worry, this panel is going to be a lot more fun than the title is. Don't worry. But I'm so psyched to be with two amazing, Savannah's a filmmaker, Drea is a comedian, sketch comic, engineer, you name it. So we got a great group here. Before we dive in, I want to ask everyone this. Tell me, what did you do before you became famous on social media?
Okay.
Drea, you're closest to me, so you can answer first.
I feel like I could kick it off. So hi, everyone. First of all, I'm so excited to be in the presence of you guys. Y'all look really well dressed up here. Love that.
Nice fits. Nice fits.
Yeah, you look amazing too.
Thank you.
So before I started off with comedy and content creation, I was an industrial engineer. As Forbes will say, I went from engineering from calculations to comedy. But when I
think I wrote that line.
You see, a good title. I love that.
Nice.
But for me, while I was in my cubicle, I didn't feel like this was my passion. I wanted to really impact people with humor and use my personality to really just impact people on a global scale. And you can't have a global impact from your cubicle. So I did the big leap of faith, and I quit my engineering job to pursue content creation full time. And as glitz and glam as that sounds, I have immigrants, Nigerian parents. They were like, no, how can you do that? So what I had to do was really use my engineering mindset, and that's what I still do today, to really study the algorithm, especially on TikTok. What time should I be posting? What videos work when I post long form, short form? Like, what are people resonating with? And I realized that people just loved when I talk about my culture, use humor to amplify my culture. And I started posting, and all of a sudden the followers started rolling. And thankfully today, I'm on this stage.
Amazing.
So
welcome. Again, two top creator winners today, so welcome. Very, very cool. Big round of applause. Savannah is a rookie of the year, first year on the list. Tell me, how did you get your start in filmmaking? You create these incredible worlds. What were you doing beforehand?
Thank you. Yes. Well, super excited to be here, first off. Before content creating and creating films, I was in school for forensic psychology. I've always been interested in how people think and trying to make people think when they're watching my videos. So I was in school for a while, and I also worked at a makeup store, Ulta, at the time. So I did special effects makeup alongside, just like for fun, because I've always been interested in everything creative and makeup as well. So I was in school, working at a makeup store, and then I started creating content with my younger sisters at the time. They convinced me to do it. And I was making everything under the sun. I tried dancing, makeup videos, food videos, trends, DIY. And I finally found my niche of filmmaking and what I like to call fever dreams, which is just very chaotic, random fun, which is like a mix of comedy and horror combined. So that's where I got my start.
Wow, so you both, between forensic psychology and engineering, you guys have a scientific mindset here, which is cool.
Yeah, we're STEM girlies.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Which is great for this topic, because when you create, your content, how do you decide where it goes, how it goes? And do you make it for everything, or do you think like, this is YouTube, this is a TikTok one, this is Instagram? Like, tell me how you can make content and also be everywhere at the same time. That's a very long question, I know. But
So
how do you become a star across all the platforms?
Of course. Well, you have to keep in mind your audience for each platform. Sometimes with different creators, it can vary. So my YouTube audience is a little younger than my Instagram and TikTok audience, yet I try to cater to everybody, so I'll cross-post my videos on all platforms, and some videos will do super well on one, some videos might not do well on the other, and that's fine. But you kind of learn along the way when you're posting what works and what doesn't, and you can kind of cater your videos to that audience. So for example, my YouTube audience, I'll keep more like short and upbeat cuts to keep the retention, versus my Instagram and TikTok, they're fine with a more narrative style. So I can really like get creative with filmmaking and storytelling.
I love that. No, I agree with what she said perfectly. We really have to know your audience. That's number one key. Because this act of creating is a service business, right? So you're servicing them. And just like how she mentioned, each platform has different type of audiences. Like my audience on Instagram are a little bit more older. My audience on TikTok are younger. And if I'm gonna post content, not all the time when I post the same content it will work. Sometimes I have to tweak it. If it's a longer video, it may work better on Instagram Reels. And if I can cut out some long pieces, because again, attention spans are kind of short nowadays, you know what I'm saying? People want that quick gratification. So I'll cut things down and put it on TikTok. Even changing captions. Captions are a big thing because of SEO, right? On TikTok is a really big SEO-driven platform. So if I'm posting on TikTok, I'm making sure I'm putting certain keywords, because again, a lot of my content is about the culture. So if I'm teaching people Nigerian slangs, I'm putting like hashtag culture talk, or Nigerian slangs, or even engaging. I think another big one too is like engaging my viewers. I use my viewers to give me the content ideas too. Mm-hmm. So if my viewers on TikTok want to know about like what's the next popping slang right now, and I will like reply back to comment with a video, so that way the audience is seeing like, oh, Drea's noticing me. And I notice on TikTok, the people in the comment section are a lot more community focused. They're very much engaged in that storytelling. So you can have part one, part two, a series based on what my comment section is saying. Versus on Instagram, I feel like Instagram, I'll just post it. I curate it a lot more. Mm-hmm. But I think the audience part, knowing your audience is definitely the key to success online.
What is the new popping slang, by the way, while you brought it up?
Oh, you want to know the next popping slang. So if y'all don't know an audience, a big part of my content is teaching people Nigerian slangs, right? So I've gone around the world, in Tokyo, Thailand, on Oscar's red carpet, teaching Nigerian slangs. And funny enough, I think a good slang you can say is like, no wahala.
No wahala.
Yeah, oh, that's good.
Look at that first try.
Wait, can you repeat that?
I got you, girl. No wahala.
No wahala.
Woo! Yes. So that basically I should tell you what that means. It's not curse words. It's always very uplifting and positive. It means no problem, right? And so actually that's a good segue too, because a lot of my content too, like I wanted to think about next month, November 11th, I'm launching a slang card game, right? Which is basically people can learn Nigerian slangs and American slangs, so I'm Nigerian American, through challenges. So like if the slang is no wahala, maybe you act out a time when you went on a date and they left you there with the bill. And then each person will act it out, and then I'll give, okay, Savannah was the best performance. So basically, when I think about, I wanted to create a product that it's very easy for me to convert into my content. Because when you think about product and promoting stuff on your platform, if I created something that's so off-brand for me, it's gonna be hard for me to organically integrate that into my content. So Sabi Slangs is coming out next month.
Nice plug.
Watch out for it. Yeah, nice plug. Thank you.
Plug,
Thank you for
plug.
the.
And it's a new platform. You're going into the game platform. That's something we haven't talked about.
Yes.
Savannah, when you you shoot very complex, content. This is not you with a selfie. This is the special effects, jump cuts, you name it. Do you create like one video and then kind of use that as like the master source, and then chop it up and send it to different places, or do you have to create new videos for different platforms?
I typically like to start with one video, whether it be longer and I cut it into two for two platforms, or just keep it one long video and post it on all three. Sometimes I'll take the long video and then shorten it, depending on whether I'm posting YouTube, TikTok, or Instagram. But I typically like to keep it the same video so that it's all across the board the same.
What do you guys shoot and edit on? What do you use?
CapCut. I don't know if y'all use CapCut. For those who don't know how to edit, they have edit templates. You use them templates, they'll be like, wow, girl, your videos look so good. You're so good at this. It's just a CapCut template. It's so easy. I'm sure yours is way more complicated.
It's actually not, which people don't realize. I get this question so often. I do all my own editing myself.
Wow.
And I taught myself it as well. And most of the time, I will edit on my phone, which is very surprising. With more complicated edits, I can use my desktop, and I use Adobe. But CapCut is great, and Video Leap is great too. So
how long does it take for you to do a film from start to finish?
From the idea creation, that could take maybe a day. Sometimes it can take a couple minutes if I'm half asleep and I think of a fever dream in my head, and I'll write it down in my notes. And then the actual filming process is typically about 4 to 6 hours. And the editing process is a little bit longer, probably like a day or two if I'm sitting down in my favorite chair and going away, but yeah.
I don't think people realize how much time goes into like creating videos, especially when you're doing like short form content. You watch it as 15 seconds, you're like, oh, it took them like this piece of cake. But sometimes like it starts from the idea. Then for you, if you're doing high sets, booking the studio or setting out time to film, and then hiring people if you need people in your videos, right? And then the editing and all that. So it's like a lot of work goes into such a short form video that some people may not realize. So one thing I did learn that has helped me in my career is batch shooting, right? So when I first started creating content, I was also working full-time as an engineer. So there's no way that I'm gonna leave my cubicle and go and start filming videos. No. So what I did is like on the weekends, I will batch shoot like content, like at least like 5 videos.
What do you mean by batch? What do you mean by that? For us, like people like me, they have no idea what you're talking about. What is? I'm not in the biz. What is like a batch shoot?
Basically setting a day to film like 4 to 5 videos. So that's like in like a batch, right?
Batch,
Yeah. And then you spend a week editing. So like when I film my Man on the Street content, I spend one day, I go out on the street, I interview a lot of different people, and that content can last me like a month because I take that one day of shoot and I pieces it out. And then it can help you out because I feel like, especially when you're starting off as a creator, you're not just a creator. You also have your job. Or if you're a mom, you have your family, or if you have like different things. So it helps you to be able to, work-life balance. I think that's like a really good insight.
I know Savannah is like a family affair. Her sisters help edit and shoot and cut, right?
Yes.
How long does it take for you to do a video? And do you do it yourself? Do you have a team now? Do you farm it out? How does that work?
I do filming. I film on my own, or if I have friends too, I'll call them to help me film too. For editing, I have an editing team. God bless them. It's ARC, a Random Creative. They're the best. I think it's helped me out a lot because, again, as creatives, you want to hold on to the power. of like editing. I'm sure you still edit your videos too, right?
Yes.
Like it's gonna be hard for you to let go of that baby, but if you wanna scale and grow, you have to invest in your business, you have to invest in yourself, and that's something that I was like, all right, I don't want to pay, I can edit myself, but let me just pay to step it up. And it helped me out with like more output, for sure, yeah.
Which platform is right now like the most important for your brands and business? Is there one that you're kind of leaning on, or does it take that full mix and different ones have like different flavors and do different things to your brands?
Well, I had my start on TikTok, and so that was like my baby. And then I transferred my following from TikTok to Instagram, and that's something I've been continuing to work on across all my platforms. And one way that's really helped me is I actually am I just created a newsletter. It just launched today, and it's going to be a place where.
Wait, what's it called? Drea got a plug. What's it called?
Yeah,
What's your newsletter called?
I know. What's the newsletter called? How do we get there?
It's called The Fever Dream Team. So it's going to be one place where you can see everything I'm working on across all platforms, because some people wouldn't know that you're posting on TikTok, or some people wouldn't know you're posting on YouTube or creating a movie, so it's going to be one place where you can share everything.
That's so cool.
In
Are you
an
going to
easy
share your
and fun
short
way.
film on there too?
We'll see.
Is it on Substack?
No.
Okay.
But yeah.
How do you use the different tools of platforms?
Like how do I share multiple?
In terms of like, what do certain platforms have different ends? Like, oh, this helps me get followers, this helps me make money, this helps me, other different, or they all do the same purpose?
I think they're all different in its own way. Like my audience, again, is different on different platforms. I think they want to consume different types of content. So there's not everything that I post on TikTok that I'm going to post on Instagram. Like I know for if I'm doing a lot of announcement kind of videos, like if I'm announcing some type of celebration, on TikTok, they're like, okay, that's cute. But on Instagram, it's gonna resonate more. I don't know why, maybe because of the age group. And for me, I just fill it out. Like when I create content, I think first audience. Then I see, okay, this is gonna go on this platform, it's gonna go on that platform.
How do you both use data and analytics to create and to pick platforms?
Yeah.
I know you have a masterclass on this, Drea. So
I do. There's a lot of different ways. I mean, first things first, I look at engagement rate, right? Like watch time on your videos. So first thing I always look at is when I post a video, depending on the length, what is the watch time and when, because especially on TikTok, I think Instagram does that too, but it tells you when do people start losing interest. And I think on YouTube too, it does that. Yes. So that's a very key metric I look at, because I see, okay, this video I posted I thought was gonna do great, tanked. It flopped, so why did they start losing interest? Is it because I didn't have a good CTA, a good call to action in the beginning of the video, or a good hook? I think hook is a really big, it's not a metric, but it's a hack, right? Like a hook is this is the reason why you're not getting a second date. No shade to anybody. But in terms of if I'm not getting a second date, I'll be like, okay, tell me, girl, why am I not getting a second date? I'll keep watching that video. So it's the key is just to see that attention, keep that attention span going. So that's a metric I look at. My watch time, my engagement rate, the time I post, I know the exact time I post that works for me. Some experts will go out and tell you, post at 12:12 or 11:11, because that's a good luck time. No, check your analytics. What does your analytics say? Most of your followers are in Europe, so you should probably post in European time. At least for me, a lot of my demographic too is in Nigeria, so I make sure that I'm not posting when they're asleep, when they're about to be in bed, laying in bed scrolling. Okay, let me post.
So you're gonna find the sweet spot where people in Nigeria and America are watching and viewing.
Yes.
What time is that, by the way?
For me, it's between 11 to 1 o'clock.
AM or PM?
Oh, AM, 12,
Okay.
11, yeah, 12 o'clock PM, yeah.
So how do you guys have different, how do you look at analytics and data to do all that? When to time, everything from where to post, how long it should be, the hooks, that sort of stuff. Tell me what goes through your strategy.
Mine is similar to yours as well. Hook is my number one thing in my videos, because say you're scrolling and what's gonna make you stay? For me, it's something that you wouldn't see every day. Maybe someone in a costume, maybe someone doing a stunt or a jump or a spin. So I include something very interesting in the beginning of the video, even if it doesn't really make sense to the storyline.
Give me an example. What's the last video? What was the hook?
The last video I posted, the hook was, Oh, I was on a zip line. So
That's a hook.
right, but it was at a park. So it was like a mini zip line, and then at the end my character flew up into the sky, and then it was a mannequin. I didn't actually fly into the sky, unfortunately. But yes, so hook is very important, and I would say time as well. Ever since I started creating content, I've been posting between like 1:30 and 2 p.m. in the middle of the day, and that's when my audience seems to be most active, and when I am most active with my audience as well.
That's great. You can sleep in and then end early. That's great. Midday.
Exactly. So yes, hook, audience, time, and I think those are the main three for me.
And I love how she said, like, how she had a zip line and a mannequin going. So, like, with hooks, you can either do a verbal hook, so that's like saying something, like how I said about, like, you're not getting second dates, or a visual hook, and that was like the mannequin on the zip line getting pushed off. So when people are scrolling and they stop, they see that first visual, they're like, oh my God, I need to watch more. Or an audio hook. So another good thing that I actually utilize is like trending music, because most likely when someone is familiar with something, if it's a familiar audio, they're more likely to stop scrolling and watch it, because like, oh, maybe this audio is it's aligned with the trend I've been watching with this song, so let me stop scrolling and watch this video. So that would be like the 3 hooks that I think are really important.
One more thing I forgot to add is, I know it's different for everyone. I'm curious to hear your answer for this, but my sweet spot is between like 25 and 45 seconds, I would say, for my videos. But for everyone, it's different, so I'm curious.
Yeah, because there are some people that post 2-minute videos and people sit down and watch it. Yeah. But it's all about the storytelling, right? Like, I don't know if you saw the videos with Risa Tisa, the lady that went through that traumatic event with her ex-husband. People sat down and watched 15-minute videos. So it doesn't have to be short form, but you just have to be engaging. Whether it's a short form video and you're putting hooks and different visual elements to keep them entertained.
And then you can do YouTube and they're 45 minutes long.
Oh yeah, that's a different ballgame. Yeah. I'll leave that for the YouTubers.
Yeah. Love it. Well, we have 30 seconds left. Like, kind of quick, one quick answer. Give me a big, bold prediction or trend that you're seeing in the next year or two in what you guys are doing.
Wow. That was a tough one. I'll start. The creator space, the creator community is really growing, and I want to give you your flowers because you're the one who created the top creator list.
Well, and I will take the flowers. Thank you.
You're opening up the space for people to really believe that this is a career and we can make it. And for Forbes to be putting something like this together is amazing. So I really think that I'm seeing more top creators, more people that are going to go from doing jobs that they hate to going and pursuing their dreams of being like full-time creators. So I'm a walking testimony of that. I thank God for the space that I have and the way I'm able to be inspiration for a lot of people. So I'm just looking forward to seeing more and more and more people tap into their creative skills and, be successful.
Love it. Thank you.
For sure. I would say I would love to see more people be creative with how they're filming their videos, like cool transitions or cool ways of filming it, whether it's POV or like you're filming from your eye point of view, just like something that you don't see every day versus just the typical setting your phone up and talking to the camera, which is totally fine, but I think it would be interesting to see more creative options.
Definitely.
Very cool. Well, unfortunately, we're out of time. That flew by. Big thanks to Savannah.
Thank you.
To Drea. And thank all of you. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
We will now take a brief networking break. Programming will resume promptly at 5 o'clock, where we'll hear from more upfronters, marketing experts, and the biggest creators working today. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. We are about to get started, so please take your seats. Please come back and take your seats, and we'll get started. Welcome back. And now, let's kick off another presentation of our Creator Upfronts.
When I talk with people who have an idea about what they want to do in their home, what excites me most is the huge untapped potential that I see in them. So I spent 15 years of my career in education. I have an operations and finance background. I have an MBA, so I'm a big time nerd, very methodical when it comes to designing solutions. So I'm a little bit crazy when it comes to researching the best methods, tools, product solutions. I spend hours every single day doing this, and you're in luck because I love doing it, and I'm hoping to save you time because I only share the best of the best. An idea that I wanted to do floor-to-ceiling molding, and I figured it out, and I did it myself. And I am not unique in my skills here. I really believe that you can do it too. Ultimately, this is about believing that you can make a home and life that you love, and we're all just figuring this out together.
Please welcome Lisa Chun, content creator, and interviewer Randall Lane, Chief Content Officer, Forbes.
So I've got anytime you want to work on my house, I'll take it. That's great work, and that video really shows what you're about. I have a question though, because what a lot of folks don't know is Lisa, you went to Columbia Business School, graduated from Columbia Business School, and you ran a super large charter school network. So what does an operator, you should be like the CEO of Forbes. How did you become a storyteller?
So it was very funny. When I first started sharing my content on Instagram, my DIY content, I never intended for this to be a full-time gig. I had a job that I loved. I worked for many years for a charter network. I worked in finance and operations, and this was kind of my side gig. It kept me
So you weren't even in marketing. You were like in the,
I was finance operations. I was school
stuff.
Operations. I was like the one helping I was also a leadership coach, and so I was also in the work of building up, raising, and training COOs. And so that was my love and my passion for many, many years. And this kind of grew on the side, and it just felt like the right timing for me to make the transition to pursue this full time.
But again, nothing says, home design like running like, school network. What was your big break? What was that kind of like moment where you said, I could do this for a full time?
Yeah, I think that for me, I was just sharing my content, and I'm very much a believer in hard work puts you where luck can find you. And so as I was starting to share, I experienced kind of like slower growth, and about 2 years ago, I created one reel, and it kind of took off. And I remember sitting in a meeting with.
What was the reel?
It was an about me reel, so it was kind of just my story, my journey in this DIY world. I remember sitting in a meeting with my work colleagues, and my phone was like going off, and I thought I had it on silent, but it kept pinging off, and my boss was like, what is that? What's going on? And I was like, I don't know. And then people were saying like, Lisa's Instagram account is growing very rapidly. I grew 400,000 in 1 week.
Wow.
And so, I think.
And the reel, it was just like kind of my story reel. It wasn't like some incredible, rehab or anything like that.
And so it was just that moment where I feel like I got lucky in that moment, but it was also because I had been sharing consistently for many, many years prior to that. And so, it was at that turning point where I really started to explore this as a potential opportunity to see, do I want to do something with this, or stick with this kind of like as a side hustle? And I decided to take that leap.
It's remarkable how many people get lucky, because they post a lot, and you make your luck, right? I mean, if you keep swinging, you're eventually going to hit. Now, you're somebody, again, you have an ops background, a finance background, so you bring, clearly you bring a kind of regimented, there's got to be a mathematical process to what you're doing. How do you figure out, now that you're doing this and this is your life, your professional life, what works and what doesn't? How do you test? Do you have...
Yeah, I think for me, I'm a super data-driven person. And so I'm always looking at the numbers, I'm looking at what's performing well, I'm asking for feedback, I'm always trying to learn, to grow. I think one thing in this industry is everything changes every 3 months. And so what worked yesterday is not going to work tomorrow. And so someone jumping in today is also, like, what the path that I went on is not going to work for somebody who's starting today.
All right, so let's delve into the data here with brands. What works right now? Do you work with brands directly? Do you work with agency, with reps? How do you do it?
So I have an agency and I work with brands, and I think that what works best with brands is really when they allow us to kind of chart the course for what the story is going to be like. I think the ones that are tougher are where there's a creative brief that is like 10 pages long, you have to hit all these different points, and that's really hard to do in short form, right? In 15 seconds, 20-second reel, it's really hard to hit all those things, but when it's authentic, when it's something that I want to share, and I'm passionate about it, and I can tell it in my own way, I think that's what works best.
Well, you also, Cindy, you're working in an area, there's a lot of people interested in it, but then you have kind of, you have category conflicts. And how do you negotiate that?
Yeah, so I think that for me, it's very much about managing the timeline and schedule. And so exclusivity, things like that, it really comes down to what does your content calendar look like and how can you balance that. And I also try to balance organic content. I try to lean a lot more heavily into organic content versus sponsored content, because I really want to make sure that the brands that I'm working with, all the ones that you saw in there, they're brands that I love, and I'm really careful about the ones that I'm picking. And so it's really just kind of weighing all those things in balance.
I have this, like you're running schools, I have this idea of you with this big calendar on the wall and, charting and checking off, which probably makes a lot of sense. We got about 40 seconds left. What are you most excited about going into next year?
I think going into next year is really about taking. I think a lot of people ask me, what do I want to do with this business? And I don't consider myself an influencer per se. I really consider myself more of an entrepreneur. And so I'm really excited about kind of the expanding beyond the Instagram and what's there.
Listen, Forbes is interested in this for a reason. Yeah. You are an entrepreneur. Everybody here is an entrepreneur. And we appreciate your entrepreneurial journey. Thank you. Everyone, let's hear for Lisa.
Thank you.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
It all started with a big vision and a little bit of delusion. When I started planning our wedding in 2020, I realized how freaking expensive it was and how bougie my taste was. So then I started sharing my DIY projects, and that eventually led to my first brand deal and the most beautiful wedding of all time, which was, of course, on my vision board. From there, I started realizing maybe this delusion is paying off. So I said, I can renovate a house with no experience. Welcome to the viral Hot Mess House Renovation Series, where we did in fact pull a brick out of the toilet, which basically launched my career. I had no idea what I was doing, but I was learning along the way, and I think that really resonated with people because we got over 100 million views across platforms, and I put my heart and soul into this house. Now, unfortunately, we did have to sell it and move because my husband's in the Navy, but it was kind of a blessing in disguise because we got the Hot Mess Lake house, and I still had things to accomplish on my vision board that I just couldn't have at the first one. Now, I was so lucky for this series to go even bigger than the first one. Over 250 million views across all platforms. It's bigger than ever. But I didn't stop there. Along the way, I also did mini-series where I did makeovers for friends, families, and even some of my subscribers who were just so deserving. And I plan to do so much more of this next year because how could you not love a reaction like this? Oh my God! And there's no way I could make this video without mentioning the viral Christmas DIYs because this is my favorite time of year. I really try to put an emphasis on making everything super affordable and easy so that every single person can make their holiday season magical. And don't worry, there's gonna be so many more of these this year. While all the stats and numbers are super important, I think what's more important is letting you in on my community and how I interact with them. Even though I do have a large influence, I really just aim to make people feel comfortable and have a safe space to be silly and funny and learn new skills, and also give them permission to simply be themselves. My vision for the future is bigger and brighter than ever, and I would love for you to be a part of it. Are you ready for it?
And now, joining Randall, please welcome Alexis Combs, home renovation, DIY, and lifestyle content creator.
So nice to
All
meet
right. Alexis comes. Lexi DIY. That's how you know.
Yes.
It's great to see you.
Yeah, it's great to see you.
Listen. First of all, we appreciate Forbes and Walmart on the vision board. That nicely done. But the music was great there. How do you you started with weddings.
Yeah.
And home renovations, and then now it's even interior decorating, crafts, and things like that. How much permission do you need to bring people? Are you finding different audiences? Are you bringing people across to this journey? How does that work for you?
I find that most people, whether they want to get their hands dirty and do a renovation or maybe a DIY project, they like to be creative. So I do find a lot of overlap, and my audience is mostly women, which I feel like, women are so creative and lovely.
Right.
So yeah, a lot of overlap there.
And in terms of, do you use different channels, or it's all through the same one channel?
No, so I do everything through the same channel. I mean, I do basically every single platform: TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all of them.
Yep, all the platforms, same channel, same branding. That probably makes sense. How do you're playing in very competitive categories.
For sure.
So what's the key to stand out?
I think the key to standing out is honestly just being yourself. I mean, I just probably embarrassed myself by dancing like a fool
You were
in
great.
that
Come
video.
on.
But I think it's important to show stuff like that because I like to think of myself as not really an influencer. While I know I do have a large influence, I just want to give people the permission to be themselves and be authentic.
Authenticity, that's the word we keep on hearing. And it's true. What kind of team do you have? How many people does it take to do all that? Those numbers were great, so you didn't do that yourself.
Thank you. Well, most of it I did. I do all of
Lexi
the
DIY, right?
Yeah. It's kind of a problem I have.
Yes.
So I do have like a management team, but as far as like filming, editing, it's just me. And my husband will help me, carry the heavy stuff.
Right. So it really is, truly DIY.
Yes.
As you grow, do you think that will change, or how important do you think that is to stay true to that idea that this is you talking?
Yeah, I do really want to hire a team for editing and things like that, and I have sort of gone down the path. I think for me, my content is so personal, so I always find myself wanting to redo whatever has come back to me, no matter how lovely it is.
Yes.
And so I think I'll always have my hand in mostly that, but I would like to outsource some other things so that I have more time for it.
At some point you have to let go. With your brand partnerships, kind of what's, as you've done, brought people along on this journey, what's your biggest lesson there?
I think my biggest lesson there is honestly to just find the brands that you are already using and authentically love and give them your most creative idea. Because if it authentically...
Do you reach out to them, or they obviously let them reach out to you, but how many do you reach out to?
I reach out to a lot. I think it's important because, they don't necessarily know me. I mean, I might come up on their For You page or whatever, but there's so many talented creators, so unless you shoot your shot, you really never know what can happen.
Give us one example, one case study on something where you've had this brand partnership and it really worked, and why did it work?
Yeah, so I think my partnership with Benjamin Moore has been one of my favorites because I'm obsessed with their paint, and
That
works.
jacket, by the way, that's a lovely wall color there. So
Thank you. I think so too.
Yeah.
And it worked so organically, and it went viral because that was already my content. So it worked out a lot easier.
All right, so we got about 30 seconds. Take us forward. What's hot for Christmas this year? You're teasing that. It's your favorite time of year.
Yes, glitter. Always glitter.
All the glitters is gold.
Yes,
All right.
yes. You have to have the glitz and the glamour, and also velvet.
And tell us about, you also tease hot mess home renovation. I love the name. What's up?
So we are going to be moving in January onto our third house. We're going to be leaving the state of New Jersey. I'm not saying where yet, but I'm really excited to have a new, bigger project.
All right. Well, we look forward to seeing where you go.
Awesome.
New
Thank
Jersey's
you so
loss.
Thank you.
The rest of the country's game. Lexi DIY. Thank you.
Thank you. It was so nice to meet you.
First started creating content, I focused on what I thought everyone wanted to see, and it wasn't long before I realized something was missing. I wasn't truly happy, and it felt forced. That's when I decided to shift my focus and create content that made me happy, content that truly reflected who I am. And as soon as I made that change, something clicked. I realized that by being authentic and showing my real journey, I would naturally attract the right audience, and an audience who resonated with my story, my struggles, and my wins.
As it sets in the mountains, find luck like a bet in Greek fountains, or lay lazy in bed with your head on my chest. I hope you don't mind.
The shift wasn't just about content. It also transformed the way I approach partnerships and brand opportunities. Now with my collaborations, I feel that they're so organic because they're an extension of my daily life and what my community already connects with. My content is about inspiration, yes, but it's also about transparency. I believe in showing the behind the scenes, the late nights, the tough decisions, the joy of just seeing an idea come to life. That's what drives me, the possibility of helping others see that they can build a life they love without compromise, especially my moms.
Hear every note that my heart sings, like a choir of bells, how they all ring.
I create because I believe in representation. I want my community to see themselves in my story, to know that we can redefine success on our own terms, in our own time. And if my journey inspires just one person to go after what sets their soul on fire, then I'm doing exactly what I'm meant to do.
And now, please welcome Jasmine Crockett, lifestyle creator and founder. Simply Enjoy Meets Home.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Jasmine.
Hi.
All right, so we've heard a lot of people up here talking about, how big their audience is, how they're growing their audience. What I really thought was cool about that is you were talking about how you're not trying to reach everybody. You're trying to reach a specific audience that you think responds. Where did that idea come from?
Honestly, for me, it happened probably 2020 when I had my second daughter. At that time, I was doing a ton of fashion try-ons and things like that, and just wasn't really happy with what I was doing. It didn't feel like it had a purpose, and I want my content to feel like it has purpose in everything that I'm doing. And just had this motive, I love home. I want people to feel something when they watch my content, whatever it is, and just had that change from there.
So, but you made a conscious decision to say, I'm not gonna try to reach everybody as much as try to reach a more focused audience.
Exactly.
And that, and again, that's there's room for mass and there's room for niche and for class.
Exactly.
So, one thing also though, you kind of seem, I watched a bunch of your videos, you embrace the messy,
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because like in your area, like Martha Stewart would be like,
right.
which is like everything is perfect. I woke up looking perfect. My house was perfect. It cleaned itself.
Right.
And listen, and I think that's just, I've, written, a gazillion stories, and I would never want anyone to see my rough draft.
Right.
I want anyone to see my finished
It took
story.
a while to get there.
How does that feel? That probably feels probably in the beginning, it had to feel a little uncomfortable, right?
Yeah, it took a while to get there. A couple years ago, you couldn't pay me to film, get on camera. And it just kind of organically happened. Again, the perfectionist, I felt like it wasn't real. And when you watch certain content, you're like, this isn't everyone's day life. I have 2 kids, I run businesses, I'm busy. So I realized day to day that I couldn't keep up with let me put on makeup, let me do outfits, because that wasn't my real life. So I'm like, I'm gonna film, and if I'm cooking and I have on a sweatshirt, this is what you want to get at that moment. And I realized I had more viewers and more people were paying attention to that. And then I feel like the engagement, the comments of other moms saying, I relate to that.
What was what's one example, when you were trying to figure this out, one piece of content you did that you're like, holy.
So when I made the switch from just being fashion to lifestyle at home, I first dabbled into home renovation. And I would start sharing, the behind the scenes of what that looked like and building out that project and just the messiness of this is what a construction site looks like. And this is what everything looks really messy. And that video on TikTok went up to 2 million views. So I was like, wait, it's something here.
Messy sells.
So from there, I realized, okay, people love to see the behind the scenes. I mean, people are nosy. They want to see what you're doing. So I said, okay, this is something here. People want to see my day-to-day. They want to see what I'm doing. And from there, I wanted to share more.
It's probably more inspirational to see when you get somewhere when they can relate to where you've been. Now, you have a newsletter, right?
I do.
For female founders?
I do.
So how do you toggle, is that a separate channel, or do you have 2 different things, or does it roll into the same
So
thing?
the newsletter is new. It was a partnership with Beehive, and basically kind of what happened is I'm with my tech startup that I'm building, organically in the space now, seeing other female founders and things they're doing, and realized there was not a space to really catch up with quick news, founding tips, and things like that. So when they reached out about the partnership, I was like, hey, why not?
Right.
So, yeah.
And how, listen, you're an entrepreneur. We got scores of entrepreneurs in this room, and it's the same thing that, it's the same issue that a Forbes has, which is do we create sub-brands, or do we put it under one brand, and how much do we focus on the one product? So again, how do you balance, and I'm sure a lot of people here are asking themselves the same thing, between stretching too much or staying with the core thing that's working?
Yeah, so that's something a year ago that I had to figure out when it came to what I'm building. It needs to make sense with my content, with my overall just brand, and making sure that it is something that I could probably post on my personal channel, but it still relates to what I'm doing. I wouldn't go and post,
sports.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That doesn't make sense.
Right.
So everything that I do, I want to make sure it aligns.
So it aligns with brand consistency, personal brand consistency. All right, 30 seconds left. Give us one, a lot of buyers in the room, a lot of brands in the room, one brand win that you're most proud of from the past year.
Probably my own personal brand win. Recently got a big investment from my tech company, Simply. So really excited about that. Thank you, guys. So that's something you kind of unheard of in a creator space. You want to launch and build your own brand. So yeah, excited about that.
So you were turning, your what you do, as an influencer, and then raising money in the real business.
Exactly, and it all still aligns with home. So
that's why Forbes is doing this. So you epitomize what we're about. Jasmine, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate your time.
What if you took a chance on yourself and didn't look back? This is the story of how 1 year of chasing my dreams led to inspiring millions around the world.
Germany, the United States,
Singapore,
Malaysia,
Brazil,
Vietnam, Pakistan, Philippines, Chile, Germany, Canada, United States,
Madagascar. It all started in April 2023. After getting rejected from my dream job in engineering, I decided to start making videos to document my journey of navigating life post-grad. At the time, I didn't own a proper camera, I didn't know how to edit, but I did have a lot of grit. So I posted on YouTube every week for about 4 months before pivoting to Instagram to simply create for fun and experiment with my craft. On October 20th of last year, I had a total of 176 followers. This year, that number is now 355,000. Now, you're probably wondering, how did that even happen? Well, if you've been engaged by this video so far,
I guess that's partially your answer. My name is Mylene, and I don't just make videos, I tell stories. For the past year, I've been sharing the lessons that I've learned in my 20s using cinematic visuals and storytelling. By showing up as authentically as possible, I try to bridge the gap between my experience and my audiences to help people reflect on their own lives. And it all started with a single series that blew up my account.
A 23-part series about the lessons I learned in 2023.
After the ongoing success of my first series, I was ready to quit my job and go full-time on the creative path. There was just one problem.
My parents had zero clue that I made videos or even what Instagram was.
3 days until my parents get here. 1 day left till my parents.
Now, I knew this wasn't an unfamiliar story for many, so as vulnerable as it was, I documented the entire experience, turning it into another series that struck a chord with millions.
Today, I'm so grateful to have reached a global audience across platforms. And as someone whose content is versatile and has community at its core, I've gotten to work with amazing brands like Adobe, Asus, and Notion, all in my first year of creating. In 2025, I hope to expand the brands and industries that I work with, showcase the power of authentic storytelling in the sea of content, and to just make cool stuff and have fun.
So, after a year of creating over 153 videos, countless hours of editing, and a little courage to share your experiences, you might just turn your dreams into reality and even inspire a few people along the way.
And now, please welcome Mylene May, content creator and maker.
Nice to meet you.
All right. All right, I'm going to ask the question everybody's asking, wondering right now. What did your parents think?
That's a good question. The first question that my parents asked was, is this making money? So that was kind of a typical Asian parent response, I'd say. But overall, I think I purposely waited until I financially was at a place where I knew I could make a living off of this.
Right.
And I think because I waited until that point, they were really supportive. So now they love it.
You made it a sure thing. You
Yep,
know, you're
yep.
like, too late, it's already working.
Yep,
So.
exactly.
All right, so, by the way, obviously, and I checked out a bunch of your stuff, as most people here have, it's very well produced.
Thank you.
How do you, you're a little bit broader. We just had, just had 3 people in a row, focus a lot of them on the home space. So how does that work? There's a natural synergy, obviously, when you're really focused on one category. You're a little bit more broad than many. How do you find brand partnerships?
Yeah, so I actually think that's a unique advantage that I have in this niche, because I think for me, even for most of my life, I've been a generalist. I've done a lot of different things, and so picking one niche just felt like I'd be putting myself in a box. And so
but a lot of brands like niches.
But I think that there's this new wave coming up of storytelling and authenticity, and so I use my visual style as a way to differentiate. So stylistically, my videos are all very similar with the colors, with the music, the pacing, and so brands really like that type of storytelling that I can offer. And so because a lot of it is life lessons and things like that, I can pretty much adapt to any type of product, any type of thing. And obviously, I try to work with the ones that actually resonate with me and the ones that I actually love.
So which, give us the cheat code here. Which categories have you seen pop in terms of brand partnerships better than the others?
Pop in what sense?
Pop in more interest and more deal flow.
I think for me, it happens to be a lot of software and productivity tools. I think because a lot of my audience is the 20s to 30s range, a lot of people are trying to organize and sort out their life, a lot of productivity and reflection type of stuff. So I would say that's what I typically see the most come into my inbox.
And again, given that you're not a niche player, how do you find these brands? How do they find you? How much push, how much pull?
I think I've been really, really lucky that my content has just reached so many people this year that most of my brand deals right now come inbound. So I usually just keep my email in my bio all the time, and they just reach out through that way. So I think that's been the main.
What do you think is the best way to partner with a brand?
Yeah, I think the best way is to think about, kind of like what I said in my video, how do you bridge the gap between your experiences and, I guess, not only your audiences, but also the brands. I think, obviously, taking on partnerships where you actually care about the brand helps a lot. So, for example, Notion, really easy for me to do a brand deal with them because I already use their products. And so integrating that with something that has impacted my life, I think that typically resonates a lot. It's how do you make people feel something with what you're creating?
Of course, and again, you mentioned authenticity, many people have, and that obviously makes it easier. How do you create content when maybe the brand is new to you, but the deal is good, so you take it?
Yeah. So I guess for me, that kind of happened with Adobe. So I had never really used Adobe products before this year.
You had, you just weren't, you use a PDF and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
But yes, go on.
But I would say I kind of
But
treat
you had never nerded out with Adobe, so go on.
I love Adobe now. Yeah, I'd say I treat those types of brand deals as creative constraints. So I think for me, because a lot of my work is focused on storytelling, cinematography, I really view videos as an art form in itself. For me, it's like, how do I tell a story that matches these requirements? And so I stopped looking at it as, oh, these are hard-cut constraints, but it's like, okay, how can I expand my creativity in a way to match this?
Right, it's a challenge.
Yeah, it's fun,
and
it's
you
fun.
make it a puzzle, I get that. What would be somebody you haven't worked with, here's a wide open one, that would be a dream partner?
Yeah, so one that people, my audience probably knows, Fujifilm is a big one, just because they're my dream camera. I own one right now. That's how I film all my content. So Fujifilm, if you're listening, I'm waiting for you. But aside from that, I think, I've worked with a lot of software companies. I think I'm trying to bridge more into other types of categories like lifestyle, so kind of like furniture, home goods, fashion, beauty. I think that's always stuff that's fun to work with.
20 seconds left. One tip for the creators in the room. Easiest way to go, the best tip to go from 0 to 350,000. You had to say this is one piece of advice. What do you got?
Okay, I'll give two things really quickly. First one is have fun.
That's 2 pieces of content you're creating. All right.
First thing is have fun. I think if you're not having fun, then what's the point? You won't stay along long enough for you to actually see the results. And the second one is series-based content. So most of my content is series where I have multiple episodes. It allows you to experiment while also still giving people something to expect.
Good, 2 good tips. Great way to end. Miley, thanks for coming. And
thank you for having me. Thank you.
Our programming will continue in just a moment. We hope you enjoyed this portion of our Creator Upfronts. And now for the conversation navigating brand safety in the age of controversy. Please welcome Jamie Goodfriend, founder, Creator Vision; Nicole Parlapiano, CMO, Tubi; Christy Scott, content creator and entrepreneur; and moderator, Seth Matlins, managing director, Forbes CMO Network.
Have I told you guys about my boots? Okay.
You're very far away. Yeah.
I know. Do you want to pull in a little? Because it is too far.
Yeah, I'm going to read you this furniture. Hold, please.
Push my chair
That's
back.
so Jamie.
Nicole and I are already starting to cause trouble.
All right,
no,
so
we're doing this.
A serious conversation about a serious issue in times where brand safety is a concern for a lot of people. It's super trite, right, to talk about our politically divided times, but that doesn't make it untrue. And so let's talk about brand safety, but to talk about it, I think we all have to get on the same page, because it may mean different things to each of you and to the folks out there. So what's your take on brand safety? When you hear those words, what does it make you think?
So for me, it's making sure when I post my content, it's authentic to who I am as a person, my tone, what I believe, and just never posting outside of the boundaries that doesn't feel right for me.
And those are boundaries you set for yourself.
Exactly.
Right? And as your business grows, as your audience grows, do you check in on those boundaries and reconsider them, or are they just so inviolable and such a part of who you are and your identity that they stay firm?
I mean, I think it requires checking in for sure, because I mean, I'm an evolving person. So just making sure year by year, month by month, whatever I post, I still feel good about it, and not pressing that button unless it feels authentic to me.
Okay, we're going to circle back to that and talk about that authenticity in the context of inanimate brand partnerships. But before we get there, Nicole, what's brand safety to you?
It really comes down to your brand's reputation and protecting that reputation, and that's different for everyone. It's the ethics that you run the business on, and it's, you know, we make promises to consumers to trust us to do certain things, and that trust drives loyalty. So I think that brand safety means there's a spectrum of which brands will operate on, and they all operate on different ones. But I think it comes down to those values and really not doing anything that would, you know, tarnish the reputation or cause, you know, your consumers or stakeholder groups to no longer trust you.
Right, we're going to circle back to that too, because sometimes that's out of your control, or forces beyond your control wind up intervening. Jamie, you've been on both sides of this conversation. When you hear brand safety, when you think about it, what's your take on it, just kind of definitionally?
I'm actually more focused on trying to expand the definition, because when we talk about brand safety and you're at a brand or you're a creator, most of the time it's focused on the creators and not being in a situation where the creators are going to do something that's going to damage the brand. I actually think it's really important for brands to flip it and not do something stupid. And a lot of brands make mistakes where they shoot themselves in the foot, whether it's licensing or not having the correct rights structure or not paying people appropriately or not knowing who's paying the creators. So it's anything that's going to make it so that you are not viewed as a creator-friendly brand.
Right, okay, so we're gonna stick a pin in that too. Now I'm pulling your pin out. So you talked about authenticity and being true to your brand. You make feel-good content. I think it's fair to say not controversial.
Right.
Right, and I think it's also important to remember that when we think about brand safety, that in the last 2 years, the brand, inanimate brand that got hit the hardest and canceled the fullest, putting aside how fucked up that was, can I say that? I just did.
You did. First F-bomb on the stage, I said.
Won't be the last, because of a creator relationship. Now, how, you do a fair number of product reviews.
Yeah.
When you are managing kind of your audience and your audience's relationship with your brand, but also working with a brand partner, how do you find the balance, and what happens if it gets out of balance?
Well, kind of checking if it gets out of balance will be after sometimes posting, just monitoring the feedback and the analytics and just what people are saying. For me, I like to watch a post for anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour and kind of see what the metrics are there. And basing off of that, I can tell, okay, well, my audience knows if something's authentic. And I think many people's audiences, you can tell. And so just kind of basing what they say and kind of their feedback, I take that and kind of use that to gauge, well, was this a successful partnership?
Putting aside the success of the partnership, have you ever had a moment where your audience is like, hey, this isn't you, this isn't good, and have you had to pull something down because you were at risk of it damaging your brand?
Yeah, early on, I would say in my posting, my creation, content creation career, I would say I did deal with that early on, because I mean, you start as a creator and sometimes it's easy just to take anything.
Yeah.
So I had to learn early on, I have to focus on authenticity and not just grabbing a check.
And are there, in your conversations with brand partners, are there guidelines or frameworks that you've worked out that, you know, make sure it's working for both sides in terms of not damaging the reputational value that, putting aside controversy, right? Which tends to be what everybody thinks about, but are more often than not the outliers. Are there frameworks that you use to ensure you're both protected?
Yeah. Any brand that I think is too controversial, just in general, I try and stay away from. But also, any brand that I work with, I want to make sure I'm a genuine user and a fan of the brand. So usually if I go by that, then it feels authentic to me and also to my audience.
What do you consider a I'm not asking you to name a brand that you consider controversial, but what makes a brand controversial?
I mean, any brand that either doesn't sit well with, for me, I'll stay away from anything like sexual, for instance. Anything that I think can be taken out of context for me, because I like to be family friendly, I just kind of stay in the safe area, the safe zone. So that's an example for me.
Okay. Nicole, you talked about kind of, I'm not sure you used the word risk, but yours is a brand that creatively takes some real risks, right? And has used creative risk-taking as a way of capturing attention, creating engagement, and becoming the, check me if I'm wrong, the second fastest growing streamer, or the second biggest, or the fastest growing. Wild success. Wild success.
The #1 free streamer in the US and Canada, and the second fastest growing.
Yes. How then, in embracing creative risk, do you work to ensure that you are, and in the context of creator partnerships in particular, safeguarding the brand reputation that you're actually building now, because it's still a relatively new brand?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're a streaming platform, so we platform all types of stories from different types of creatives. We license content from big studios. It's more like the Spotify of streaming than it is like a Netflix where we're doing a ton of our own original content production. And I think entertainment has changed so much. It used to be back in the day when there were networks, there was one single programming voice and you only did stories that were in that programming voice or in that genre. And what we found is like people have very varying tastes of what they like to watch and what they want to watch. So we really focus on, that variety and not punching down and not like judging what anyone is watching. If you love it, it's good. We love it for you. And that can be, very low budget art house films, horror films that are not for everyone, to like big blockbuster hits or, movies for foreign films for cinephiles. Like I think we have a very, inclusive taste palette. So I think when you're a streaming property and there is so much, your product is creativity, I think that we approach it very differently than if you're like a CPG brand or a consumer product.
Does it give you more license, you think?
It gives us, I think our aptitude for risk is much higher because we come from an industry where you have to be different and you have to tell varied types of stories and diverse stories to get the viewership that we have. So I think we're not a Disney. I don't have a legacy of being a family brand of hundreds of years that I have to kind of uphold to. We are risky in the types of content that we platform, and we are a little bit risky in the way that we market because that is the truth of how our brand has cut through and kind of found its audience.
So you've got a high risk tolerance. You have a certain, for lack of a better word, protection just by virtue of the category in which you play, not having that legacy. Do you, and if you do, how do you, in a world where cancel culture is prevalent and can move awfully quickly, do you prepare for the worst? Do you have contingency plans if something goes awry?
So I think when it comes to partnerships with specific creators and talent, there are a few things that we do. I think really aligning on our values and our brand, and they might not know like what our brand values are, what we stand for, what we truly believe, making sure that we take the time to sort of educate on that. We do background checks more than just like, hey, this person's got a good following. And I leverage creator talent because I love what they're doing and I want them to do it their way. I'm not using those partnerships as a way to just push my one-way message. Sometimes I don't even know what the message is going to be, and we have something that's special that we think a certain group will love and that they can speak to it that way. And, you know, we check it, but we don't overlord the creative process and try to let them be expressive. When it comes to our brand marketing, you know, being one of the perceived smaller streamers and, you know, kind of punching against the weight of like Netflix, Disney, and Amazon, we have to show up in a memorable way. And we are a little bit more mischievous. We are a little bit more of that underdog brand. And I have a current campaign in market right now, which I am getting lightly dragged for. I'll say lightly dragged. And really, it's just, I think I have a good shorthand with my executive team so that when we start getting some shit talking on X or some customer complaints, that we're like, is this real? Is this really hurting anybody? Or is they just not getting it? And so the campaign is expressing that we're free for everyone, and our spots have, you know, heroes and villains, and we say Tubi is for the people that do bad things. And I guess the feedback we got was that we were encouraging crime and violence, and I just think they might have lost the humor.
Say I
and
did see the spot, and I robbed my next door neighbor. I did.
Yeah, they said.
I took it very literally.
It literally has kids riding bikes with their friends and like throwing rocks in windows. If that's what is going to bring America down, that kind of behavior, like, can we go back to that kind of mischief?
Yeah.
So I think, you know, what can happen to CMOs is it's usually we know the risk and we kind of look at like what that appetite is, but often it'll be people above or the CEO or other parts of the organization start to see the chatter and they start to get scared.
Right.
And so I just think being prepared to say, like, yes, we're getting these comments, but we're also getting a lot of good things. And you know what? The worst thing that could happen to when you're doing big TV commercials is that no one talks about it at all.
Right.
So at least my name's in your mouth. And that's like,
right.
that is like part of what we are supposed to do.
That's called the STFU plan. I don't know if you guys have that. That's what we used to
It's
call
hard
that.
not to go on Twitter and just like lay these
so
people out.
let's build off that, because there are a lot of brands in the audience, the inanimate brand kind. I'm sorry, I keep making that distinction, but I think it clarifies, who cannot be on the STFU plan because of category history, any number of variables. Jamie, as I said up front, you've seen this and worked this from both sides.
Lived it.
Are there frameworks you can share with the audience creators, all the brands, that you use and that you use based on learnings on how to ensure creativity is optimized and risk is mitigated?
Well, again, as Nicole said, it's all about the category and the message. So assuming all those things are equal for purposes of this, first of all, you have to know who your audience is and what their risk tolerance is and what they're going to react to. But
and that's for
the brand.
For brands, that's an internal audience, oftentimes
yes,
as much
that's
as an
where
external
that's actually what the STFU is, because you can get a call from somebody who's like, there are 10 people on X that are complaining, and you're like, that's okay. Is it 100,000 people or is it 1 million people? Like, where do you start to pull it out? But just like everything, having a proactive plan, like what you said, you post something, you watch it, you have to be proactive and first of all, know how a creator's posts typically land, and then you have to have your proactive crisis management plan so that you're not, it's like when a baby cries in the middle of the night, you've got to decide, am I going to let him cry or am I going to do something about it? So you have to have a plan that you can activate with your board, with your internal audiences, and most people forget to do that, especially with creators. They might have it for a product recall, but it is so common that a creator, an internal audience, there's some forgotten audiences. So the framework is, which are your constituents? Your customers, your retailers. I worked at a company that was in the toy business that had a massive problem, and we had to make sure that we called the retailers, we had to call the press. You have to call every constituent. That's the most important thing, and make sure that you have the messaging lined up. Now with creators, it comes from having them be prepared, and if they know you, they're gonna work with you. Many people, and I'm sorry if I'm talking to the brands like they don't know, but there are brands that don't know. They work with creators in a transactional way, so there's no relationship building. So that means you're just fucked, basically.
Yeah. And
But
I
isn't-
think I was
that's
saying
a
this
club.
earlier, we'd even have, you know, for some creators, when we would have large-scale programs, we would sit and think about, okay, what's the worst thing, what's the bar here? What if X, Y, and Z happens? How are you gonna respond? How are we gonna respond? So that we're not being reactive in that moment, so that we know the duty of care should something go wrong.
Yeah.
And that we're not creating that on the fly, and just being really transparent on, like, if this happens, this is what we're gonna do. If that happens, this is what we would do.
It is interesting I referenced a case study from a year or two ago. It is interesting to see how completely they butchered every single part of their response to that, as if they had no idea that, well, as if they had no idea. All right, we are at time, but I want to ask you all a quick question, same question. Prognosticate, crystal ball, and I want to frame brand safety here in that slightly differently, which is, as you think about the evolution of this economy, the evolution of relationships with brands, the growth from 250 billion to 500 billion that Steve spoke to, what do you think brand appetite for creative risk and partnership risk will be moving forward? Jamie, let me start with you and we'll work this way.
I think it will get more tolerant because they'll be more educated on both sides and more sophisticated, and they will have data and analytics in place. But I also think it will be not about focus on the creators, but focusing on the entire ecosystem of rights management, licensing, et cetera. And so having more partnerships with creators.
Not punching themselves in the face.
Yes, exactly.
Nicole?
I think it will increase because I think there's so much power in working with creators, in creators as a channel. It is, in some cases, I'm running entire campaigns just through that. And like I said, we're getting better data on like what's working and what's not. So I think just with the rise of the economy, and you know, if you've ever been a brand that's been told by like, I don't want to work with you because I've heard you're not good to work with, I think the power is on the side of the creators. And yeah, and coming from like a streaming platform, I mean, we recognize how much time is spent with y'all and the content that you create, and we honor that. And I kind of look at you as you're entertainers. Yeah. So I do think that it will get higher, and I think there will be more opportunities for creatives of all different types of backgrounds to scale into other things, entertainment, bigger industry things, because that's where it's going.
So let's give the last word to the creator.
And I think with all that being said, I think brands giving creators more creative freedom in these partnerships would be just outstanding to see more. I know for me, when I work with brands and they do give me more creative freedom, that's when I'm most confident about the content that I create for them.
We're going to talk a lot about that tomorrow, actually. Thank you all so much. We appreciate you.
Thanks.
And now for our final conversation today, Comedy Gold, how Adam W. turned digital skits into a social media empire. Please welcome Adam W., Forbes top creator, comedian, and entrepreneur, and interviewer Stephen Bertoni, assistant managing editor, founders, Forbes.
Everyone. All right, what a great day. We're finishing super strong. So Adam, congratulations again. Third year in a row, Forbes top creator list.
Thank you. The three-peat.
Three-peat.
Thank you.
55 million followers. He wouldn't comment, but Forbes estimates he made around 15 million this year. Not too shabby from a former football player from SMU, so congratulations.
I used to make $15 an hour.
I know, so that's a great segue. How did you get you started? Because you came to LA with big dreams, and it turned out bigger but differently than you thought.
Yeah, I moved out here about 8 years ago, and I was trying to be an actor, and I was getting nothing. I was working as an assistant and doing valet, and when I got here, I realized everyone else was trying to be an actor also, and I couldn't get an audition, definitely not a manager, definitely not an agent, and after a year and a half of being here, I was like, I saw people creating content online. I was like, maybe I can make a video and a director will see it and they'll put me in a movie. That was the whole reason why I wanted to make a video. So I had Googled how do you shoot, how do you edit. It took me like 4 months to make a 30-second video.
4 months?
4 months, yeah. Because I had an on-call job, so I'd be filming it. My boss would call me into work. Then I filmed it one time and it was completely blurry. Then I had to like beg people, like, hey, can you film this for me? Because I didn't have any money to make the content. And I put this out. I had about 300 followers. And it got 90 views, like 90. And I was like, all right, that's it.
That's my style. I like that.
Yeah. And I was like, all right, that's it. I'm just going to move back home, get a real job, because that's what my mom kept telling me to do. And I had to wait till the end of the month to get paid to book my flight. And I was like, while I'm here, I might as well shoot a couple more videos. So I put out a few more, same thing, 70 views, 80 views. And the fourth one that I posted in the morning, and at nighttime I got 1,000 views, which was more than my following. It was cool, but I didn't think anything of it. Went to bed, woke up the next morning, had 400,000 views. And I was getting all these texts, and I found out that the rapper Ludacris actually shared my video.
There you go, all right.
And that's how it went viral.
And you told me before, what was that video of?
It was a video about my girlfriend driving a car while doing her makeup, and I'm in the passenger seat, like freaking out. I didn't even think it was funny. It was a stupid video, but apparently, people liked it, and it resonated with people. And I remember I called my boss at the time, and I was like, hey, did you see my video? And he's like, yeah, I saw it's going viral. And I'm like, yeah, I quit. And he's like, you're quitting because you had a viral video? I'm like, yeah, I'm famous. And then my next video only got like 200 views. But I knew that I made something that people liked. So I knew that I would just make a video every single day until I got the result again. And then slowly but surely, I got to 500,000 in around like 6-7 months. And then I figured out how to make money off it, of course.
How did you make money off it? What was your first deal?
My first deal was with T-Mobile. It was a brand deal. I didn't even know what brand deals were. It wasn't until I started to get introduced to other content creators who had saw some of my content, and I was like, how's everyone making money? Because I'm broke. Because I would walk around, I get recognized, but I was making zero money. And I saw that they're working with brands, so I just put it out in the universe that I wanted to get a brand deal. Continue to level up my content, make better content, get more viewership. And, thankfully they reached out and we made it happen. And then we ended up doing a year deal. And then after that, I ended up working with Old Spice, Doritos, Lyft, Mountain Dew, Disney, you name it. Got an agent, got a manager, and really turned the whole thing into a business.
If you could do it over again, do you think doing a video a day was overkill? Or do you think there was like the repetition you needed in getting the stats? Because it's all about, you never know what's going to hit and what's not. And it's kind of like the more, to use baseball, the more swings you take, the better chance you have of hitting it. Do you think that was overkill? Or?
So I was doing a video a day. The world only saw maybe one every 2 weeks. I was trying stuff and I'm like, oh, this sucks.
Okay.
I'm never posting this. But because I was making a video every day, I was continuously getting better, learning from my mistakes. There's a lot of steps to the process, right? You put something on paper, you then have to produce that, you then have to show up and shoot that, you then have to edit it, and through that process, a lot of times one part fails and the whole thing fails, right? So I think just the experience of doing it made me better, and that's why it was so important to do it every day.
You do comedy, it's very hard to be funny, especially funny all the time. What was like your process? Who were your inspirations, and like where'd you get your ideas from for the content?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I watched Chappelle's show. That was probably my favorite sketch show. The Kevin Harts of the world, Dane Cooks of the world. But I think a lot of my content just comes from things that I've experienced everyday life. I'll go somewhere and I'll watch something, I'll put in my notes and then end up shooting it. I used to go to the park a lot and watch people, but now I can't because people recognize me watching people at the park.
You have to wear disguises.
Yeah, but just from everyday life, everyday experiences.
You told me before that when you first started making these videos, you had, 6 roommates in a 2-bedroom?
6 roommates in a 2-bedroom, curtain in my room.
There you go, the curtain.
Yeah.
When did it start changing? When did it start becoming like, oh, I can not only make a living from this, but I'm like making like a comfortable living?
It was really that first brand deal from T-Mobile. I had made $0 before that. And when I got that first check, it was the most money I've ever made. barely had anything in my bank account. And after that, I had just got with my manager at the time. And then it just, I think that happened in June. And I was around, I didn't have like $1,000 in my bank account. By the end of that year, I had over $1 million.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
From T-Mobile?
Part of it, but not all of it. I think just working from a lot of different brands. But I did get a free T-Mobile phone.
There we go. How do you work, that's a great segue. How do you work with brands? Because I'm sure you get tons of offers. How do you decide what brands are fit for you? And I know you put a ton of effort and a ton of like quality into your posts. Like, how do brands work with you well?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing when working with the brand is to make sure that, one, it's organic to who you are and what you post. I mean, for me, it's a little easier, right? Comedy works with any brand, right? But I think it's really important to go above and beyond for that brand, right? When I put out a branded deal, I'm gonna make sure that it's the funniest video ever, right? It's gotta be up to par with the rest of my content. I'm not just lifting up a phone and saying, hey, go get T-Mobile. It's, what's the funniest thing about a phone, right? What's relatable to anybody about a phone? That's what the concept's about. All right, now let's implement T-Mobile. And it's very clearly still a brand deal, but this piece of content is funny enough for you to share whether you like T-Mobile or not. And a lot of times when I do brand deals, I'll post something and people are like, T-Mobile should pay this guy. And I'm like, they are paying me. But it just goes to show how organic the content is and really going above and beyond to making sure that it's just up to par and just as good as the rest of it.
That's the best kind of commercial when people don't know it's a commercial.
Exactly.
And obviously you had a super fast rise, but you also talked about kind of there's the dark side of being a creator, the lack of privacy, and also like the comments. Tell me about how you deal with the haters.
Yeah, I think when I first started, I'd get negative comments, and I would write back to people. Like, if somebody wrote, like, not funny, I'd comment back and be like, all right, then why are you following me? And then they'd write back, oh my God, I'm a huge fan, I can't believe you responded. So, like, a lot of times people are just looking for a reaction. And, you'll get 10,000 positive comments, and then you kind of just dwell on those 3 negative comments. If you look at the numbers, it's stupid to even think about that. So, yeah, I never take it personal, and a lot of times people want reactions. My mom used to even fight with people in the comments, and I'm like, don't let them know you're my mom, or it's freaking over.
She'd say like, oh, don't pick on my son.
Yeah, she would say stuff like, you don't know my son, he's funny, and I'm like, no, don't say I'm your son. We had a deactivator account for a little bit.
Oh, jeez.
She's got it back now, but yeah.
We had a few folks up here that say they don't read their comments, and they have assistants read their comments just to not tell them, but if there's like some red flags, like, do you read all your stuff?
Not really anymore. If like something has like 10,000, 20,000 comments, I'll scroll through just to make sure I'm not getting canceled for something. Okay. But no, I don't really read through them as much. It's impossible.
So you grew up in Queens. Were you like funny growing up? Did people think that like you were going to be the comedian, you were the class clown?
Yeah, I always was. I never thought of it like actually being a job. I was always funny. Even when I played football in college, I wanted to go to the NFL, and I was always the funniest on the team. But I never thought, oh, this could be a job, or oh, I could be a comedian. I never thought of that.
Wow. What is now that you have a full operation, what is like the Adam W. Inc. look like, and what's like your typical week? Because you have a very regimented and intense work. I want to hear how this works. Like, let us into that world.
Yeah, so I have about 5 people that work for me, and I post every other day, no matter what. Doesn't matter if it's birthday, holiday, something happened. Every other day, a post goes up, no matter what. And I basically, I don't do anything on a day that I don't post. So like, if it's a post day, I'll wake up at 6 a.m., I come up with an idea by around 9 a.m., 10 a.m., force myself to come up with something. Then I'll tell the whole team, we'll go get the locations, the actors, actresses. If somebody can't do it, I'll call someone else. If they can't do it, I'll call somebody else till somebody says yes. We shoot the whole thing. My editor's on site. I instantly make him edit it, and then I get the post up by 2:30. And then the next day, I do stand-up. I have meetings, I have this, that, but I refuse to think of ideas on a non-post day. So everything's done morning of.
So you're a deadline junkie.
Yeah. When my back's against the wall is when I'm probably most creative.
Yeah, you'd be a good reporter for sure. What advice, you've been through like all these changes and like huge meteoric rise, what advice would you give yourself right before you became a creator, right before you went viral? What would you tell yourself?
I wish I would have started sooner. A lot of times like when you want to do something, you'll be like, I need this camera, or I need this person, or I need to film it like this. And I spent a lot of time delaying and doubting myself when, I should have just started. And When you start, it's gonna suck. It's gonna be horrible, right? But you have to get that out the way, right? And if you keep delaying the process, it doesn't matter because you can wait 5 months and you're still gonna suck when you start, right? So you might as well have just sucked 5 months ago and then started, right? So I wish I would have just never been in my head so much. I cared a lot about what other people thought, even though the only people that were following me were my friends and my grandma and my mom.
Your mom seems harsh. I'd be scared to like act in front of your mom. So
and now she's like #1 fan now. You know, I cared what other people thought, and I just delayed starting because I thought, you know, it wasn't the right time. But the reality is that the right time is right now, and the best way to do anything is to just jump in the fire and figure it out. And there's no way you could ever go around it, jump over it. You got to go through it and just figure it out.
We have a lot of like big brands here in the audience, big brand representatives. What advice would you give for a company that wants to work with a creator like you? Like, what's the best way to work with someone like you, and also what mistakes should companies, brands avoid?
Yeah, give me $1 million. No, I think just really understanding a creator's page outside of just a follower count and an engagement rate. Of course, those things are very important, but to really be in tune with who that creator is that you're hiring and being familiar with their content and getting a better understanding of what kind of content they make to see if the brief that you have or the, you know, whatever it is that you're promoting makes sense within this person's page and this person's brand. So just doing a deeper dive into the research of what that person does and the kind of content they create, I think is really important.
Wow. We only have 2 minutes left, but you mentioned stand-up, and I'm fascinated with this because you have this huge social footprint with videos and skits, but now you're actually putting yourself on the line and in live entertainment. Tell me about what you're doing and like what motivated you to get into stand-up.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of stand-up and always wanted to do it, but of course it's a very hard thing to jump into. And it's a little different in my situation, right? Because it's not like nobody knows who I am and I'm just going up there and trying stuff and who cares if it's not funny. I'm going up there and I have an expectation because most of the people in the crowd will know who I am, so they're like, oh, he better be funny. Yeah. So it's been a little tough in that sense, but really respecting the format and getting better at it. And realizing even too, like, you know, if I were to get 11,000 views on something, I'd probably reconsider what I'm doing or be like, this sucks, or oh my God, what's going on? Yeah. But when you perform in front of 11,000 people, that's a lot of people, right? So really understanding that, like, hey, when you get 1 million views, when you get 20 million views, when you get 1 billion views, like, these are real people that exist in the world, right? So never be down on getting 10,000 views. Imagine 10,000 views. Imagine 500 people in one room, right? So it's been cool to really experience that. And I'm so used to seeing, like, laugh emojis. So it's cool to hear actual laughs in real life.
Yeah. And you also mentioned, we talked about before, a lot of folks, like, they want to go from, you know, becoming a social influencer to maybe like making it to like the mainstream. Like you have a Netflix special or you have something on Prime, but you said you want to stay huge on social platforms. Tell me about that. That was fascinating.
Yeah, I think there's like a big pressure for anybody who builds a following to, hey, you got this following, let's go to Netflix, let's go to Hulu, but why? Why do I have to go anywhere? Why can't I just make a $5 million movie and put it on my YouTube and figure out the ROI on that, right? So really leaning in towards that. You know, if opportunities come, they come, right? But ultimately, I don't really want to move my audience. I kind of want to make premium content and continue making the content I'm making now, where I'm already at on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok.
Well, I know one more question. Give me one big bet or big bold prediction about where social media is going in terms of entertainment, influence, power.
I think there's going to be a lot more prestige around social media in the next 4 or 5 years. I think you'll see a lot of creators start to win Emmys, Oscars, bigger awards, get put on the map, and really be looked at as, you know, a media company. I mean, we're already seeing creators launch brands that are bigger than people who are not creators, right? I think it's all moving towards that trajectory, and I think you'll just see a lot more prestige within the creator landscape.
Wow. That's a perfect spot to end. I want to thank Adam W. for this closing fireside. Thank you all. I believe the bar is opening in a second, so I will see everyone there. Cool. Thank you, man. That was great.
And now, for closing remarks, please welcome back Seth Matlins.
I am the only thing standing between you and drinks in the Reunion Bar and Terrace on the 2nd floor, so I'd like to tell you the story of my life. Just kidding. I want to thank, obviously, Walmart Creator, TikTok, Whaler Group for being partners to this. But we also want to thank all of you, of course, and recognize that this is not just the inaugural Forbes Creator Upfronts. This is a milestone moment in the history of the creator economy that you all have been part of. You are part of history. We are making history together. And our intent with this, and when we partnered with Walmart creators to create a platform, whereas I kind of talked about when I was talking to William, where everybody can learn, earn, and grow more. That's why we've got this diversity of programming. We hope you have begun to get a sense of it. We continue tomorrow, but between now and tomorrow, we hope you'll join us on the second floor. Thank you so much for being part of history. Thank you.
This concludes our program for day one of the Forbes Creator Upfronts in partnership with Walmart Creator. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow for an incredible day of Creator Upfronts and conversations with some of the most exciting creators and brands today. Doors open at 9 a.m. tomorrow, and our program will kick off promptly at 10 a.m.